Why does this thing keep?
Oh, mine was doing the same thing right now.
Okay. Good evening. Welcome to the City of Paris Planning Commission meeting of April 6, 2022. And we want to welcome again. We want to call to order and a roll call.
Commissioner Lopez. Here. Commissioner Jimenez.
Present?
Commissioner Gomez.
Here.
Vice Chair Shively.
Present.
Chair Hammond.
Here. Thank you very much. And we now move to a moment of silence. If we would stand, have a brief moment of silence and a pledge of allegiance by Commissioner Jimenez. I know it seems like we're post the vaccine and all that, but I'm still going to read it because we still have Zoom people. So with the intent of adhering to the community guidelines from the Center for Disease Control, City of Paris will allow for remote public comment and participation at our Planning Commission meeting today. Public comment is limited to 3 minutes. Zoom meeting information, obviously April 6, 2022, 6 p.m., and the topic is Planning Commission meeting. In order to provide public comments via Zoom, participants will be required to register in advance at the link that was given with the city website. The moderator will grant you access to speak, and I'm not a technical person, but I believe those that are familiar with Zoom know how to get to reach us by taking off the mute button. That's one of the things that would probably help. Okay, I should have done that at the beginning. At this moment, we come to the consent calendar, Planning Commission minutes for March 2nd, 2022. Is there any discussion? I believe we have one commissioner that wanted to, was not here at the time.
Yeah, I will abstain since my absence of the last meeting.
That's Commissioner Isaac Lopez. Okay. Were there any changes or additions or deletions from the? None? Okay. At this time, we have public comment on the consent calendar. If anyone wishes to come forward and have comment specifically on the consent calendar of the Planning Commission minutes from March 2nd, 2022. It's a formality. Nobody usually says anything. Don't worry. Okay. With that, we move it to the Planning Commission for a vote. Moved by Commissioner Gomez. Somebody want a second?
I seconded.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Commissioner. Wow, this is just the consent calendar. And it's seconded by Commissioner Jimenez. And if you'll take our vote.
Commissioner Jimenez.
Yes?
Commissioner Gomez.
Yes.
Vice Chair Shively.
Yes.
Chair Hammond.
Yes.
With the vote of 4 yes and 1 abstention, this motion passes.
Thank you very much. And we move on to item 7A, public hearing. The General Plan Amendment GPA 21-05040. Zone change 21-05039, tentative track map 38071, and 38071-1, TTM 21-05032. A proposal to amend the amend the general plan use and zoning designation of approximately 48.6 acres located at the northeast corner of Ramona Expressway and Evans Road from specific plan and R10,000 to R6,000 to facilitate a 192 single-family lot subdivision with 6 lettered lots. Applicant Jason Keller, Mission Pacific Land Company. Is there any ex parte communication, any other site visits or anything anyone would like to?
Drive by there every single day, at least twice.
Yes, and this is Commissioner Hammond. I drove by the site, sat at the site, looked at the site. Okay, thank you. And with that, we have a presentation from the city staff, Mr. Nathan Perez. You had a nice vacation from us, didn't you? Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the Plan Commission. The first item we have before you tonight is the Stratfor Ranch Residential East project. And the project site is located at the northeast corner of Ramona Expressway and Evans Road. The project site is currently vacant and surrounded by a single-family neighborhood to the north, and also vacant land to the west and south. To the east is the Paris Valley State Fairgrounds. Here's a view of the east just across Evans Road. Here's a view to the south. Here's a view to the north along Ramona Expressway. And here's a view to the west on Lake Paris Drive. So the applicant proposes to a general plan amendment to redesignate the 48-acre site from specific plan to R6000. And the applicant's also proposing a zone change from R10,000 to R6000 to facilitate this subdivision. As mentioned earlier, the applicant's proposing to subdivide 48.6 acres into 192 single-family lots and 6 letter lots into 2 phases. And the reason for that is because Department of Water Resources.
65, thank goodness. It was hot in here.
That wasn't me, I promise. So the reason why this project
It's
is,
not my project.
I'll let
So
this be.
perhaps.
Okay. So the reason why this project is phased is the Department of Water Resources is currently constructing or has plans to construct a channel along the Ramona Expressway, which also includes an easement along the southerly border of the project. Phase 1 consists of track map 38071-1, which is 111 single-family lots. And please note that the 2 points of access along Evans Road will be provided or constructed up front. And then after DWR, or Department of Water Resources, completes their project, then track map 38071, which is for 81 lots, will be constructed afterwards. One note I would like to let the commission know, currently they're proposing 6.1 units per acre, which is kind of similar to the neighborhood to the north and also some of the entitled tracts to the west of the project site. City staff has reviewed the project with the R6000 standards, and it conforms with the minimum lot size, lot frontage, and also density. So in conclusion, staff recommends that the Planning Commission adopt Resolution 22-07, recommending that the City Council adopt Mitigated Negative Declaration 2370 and approve GPA zone change in tentative track map 38071 and track map 38071-1 based on the findings and subject to the conditions of approval. So that concludes my presentation. I'm here to answer any questions. And the applicant, Mr. Jason Keller, is also here to answer any questions you might have for him.
Thank you very much, sir. I think at this time, are there any questions? Not discussions, but any questions for staff concerning this project? Left, right?
Just a question to clarify and get things started. It's good to see you again. Everyone, staff, it's good to see everyone again. It's been a while, but I'm glad to be here. Thank God that we're all here today. So I just want clarification. I was looking at the map yesterday, and the the zone change, is that because there was a part of it that was multi-use? Is that part of the land was multi-use? Is that why we need this today?
So the purpose of the zone change is to allow a higher density. So right now, if the developer wouldn't apply for a zone change, they would have to build based on the R10,000 zoning standards,
Okay.
which allows, requires larger lots,
What size lots does it require at this time?
between 10,000 and 20,000 square feet.
Is that about like a quarter acre per lot?
Yes, that's correct, yeah.
So similar to the ones on Ramona Expressway that are single or like one-story homes, and they're on half-acre lots, similar to that? No, it's about a quarter acre.
Yes,
That's a
the-
big difference.
Yes, the R10,000 is basically
10,000 square
10,000
feet.
square feet. So an acre is 43,560 square feet. So yes, you are correct.
Was there a request to have, because I wasn't involved in the Stratford with the first phases that are already being built. So did that also go through a request like this one to do a zone change?
Yes,
It did.
exactly. So the tracks across Evans Road to the west also applied for a general plan and zone change similar to this project. And it's actually it's the applicant, the same applicant who applied for that zone change
Yeah.
and general plan.
I did notice that. And was there I noticed that there was a sign that talked about strict fire parking, no parking fire zones. So for the red curb, that was listed on one of the site maps. And so in regards to that, is there also something being done to avoid our wonderful issue here in our city, which is the big rigs driving into residential areas? Was that discussed in that might be for our city engineer, but in regards to how the track was designed? Hi, John.
Well, what we have, good evening, Commissioner. What we have is actually no truck route on Evans Road. So, they would have to go on to Ramona Expressway to go within the city jurisdiction. They would have to drive on Ramona Expressway to get onto Evans Road, and that's not permitted
Right.
for our truck route. Otherwise, the roadways are designed for residential use. Otherwise, there's no other restrictions to specifically restrict truck traffic through there, other than enforcement.
It's my concern because if I were to be a buyer wanting to come into the city of Paris, I know that we're famous for warehouses and trucks going up and down Ramona Expressway, which to this day, I haven't seen the issue diminish. And so if we're not seeing the issue diminish, and that's being taken care of by a specific department, which I'm sure it is, in the meantime, I think we should think about ideas of how to continue to restrict access of those trailers going into the residential areas. And so is there any way that these parkways that are really nice, actually these parkways are it looks like it's a double parkway. It looks really nice, but is there any way that the entrances and the exits can be modified to restrict this kind of access?
Are you, just to make sure I understand clearly, are you referring to the existing trucks that are traveling along Ramon Expressway, or are you talking about the trucks that would be needed for the construction of the homes?
No, not the construction of the homes, because we know that there's there's an understanding that while
Correct.
there's construction, they come and go, right? And there's a certain time frame that they're allowed to move along certain roads in the city. But after the completion of the construction, the residents are going to be promised that trucks are not going to be allowed. Unfortunately, we still see that. So I'm just wondering if there's anything that we can do that's proactive to avoid this in the future.
Yes, we're working with this, my understanding is the city engineer's office is working on those no truck parking signs. They have to be acquired, installed, also along the freeway. And once those installation occurs, then we can work with the PD and code enforcement to enforce it. So it does take a little time. I know that we adopted it already, but there's still some logistical requirements that has to occur before that happens. And I will follow up with our city engineer for the next meeting to see what that time frame looks like.
Yes, that would be great. And I think those are the only questions I have for now. Thank you.
Hey, anyone else? Mr. Lopez.
Hi, good evening. I have a question in regards to the basins. The 2 basins are included in the project. Just to clarify, those basins are closed to the public? Like, they won't have any access to that?
Exactly. So the only people that are going to have access are the maintenance crews that are going to, do weed abatement and maintain the landscaping within the basin.
Okay.
So the basin's going to have kind of like pilasters of wrought iron fencing.
Okay. The reason why I brought that up is because I noticed that, so the greenery in the area, I don't know if there's any parks that can be included to that project, because it seems like a high density of residents with no park in that area. And I don't know if there's a requirement within the city that's going to require something like that, but even something small that they could throw in there, like a basketball court or something like that, I feel like that would really help out this project.
Duly noted.
There isn't a requirement from the city that
They have to pay into park fees.
Yeah, the
So-
option is we route this to a community service department. They decide if there's, we build a park or they pay the park fee so that we can buy more parkland or improve upon our existing parklands. And the decision was made just to collect the park fees.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Jimenez?
And that decision for the park fees is based on what I'm wondering, because I know the area and there isn't a park close by or within walking distance to here. I know we're gonna have the little trail mix and we're gonna have access to the Lake Paris, but there isn't a park close by. I think the closest park would probably be May Ranch or Frank Eaton. So who makes that decision that we would rather collect the fees?
That would be the community service department. When we, as part of the planning time and process, we route the plans to all the departments. And that decision is made at that level where what we're going to make the what we're going to ask the developer to provide.
Okay. And another question, the light on the northern side, is that already aligned with the one that's went in? Because I noticed that the northern entrance is going to be lighted, and I know there was, I think, 2 new light signals that were put up when the other side developed.
John knows a little bit more about the offsite.
The signal that is provided as part of this development will be a new signal. And then there's another one on Marbella. And then the,
Bill, Sarah.
Yeah, I know, you see my face. Just because I drive that every day to drop off my daughter, and I know I was happy when we had those first 2 lights because it would diminish a lot of the speeding on that street. But having another one there, because now we're going to have this one, there's a second one, there's a third one by where the crosswalk is, and then the high school one. Yeah. So that's four lights in a very, very short distance.
the lights are required, they go through their analysis, and they're required because of the turning movements and the volume of traffic that these residential units will generate.
So if it was our 10,000, we wouldn't necessarily need one possibly?
I can't give you an answer
Okay.
if that's the case or not, but you still need the full turning movements so people can get in and out of their tracks.
And there's no way where it connects with the other one. How far would this light be from the next one?
I don't know this distance right now, top of my head, but the one with Marbella,
Just because even the ones that are there now are very close together. So if you had another one, it's like I'm barely stepping on my accelerator and I would have to stop again.
Yeah, I mean, they be on a timing schedule, but however, they still get detected. Yeah, I can't get the dimensions
distance?
right now at this time. Yeah.
Okay, and that's not something we look at somewhere else, like within the conditions for engineering or anything, or that's not something that's measured, because I didn't see it in here.
Well, that's one way of analyzing it, the distance between the intersections. And I think we definitely looked at that before we would condition the project, make sure that the spacings are per standard. But the requirement for the traffic signal is based on an analysis to accommodate turning movements and the volume of traffic.
I guess I'm wondering because I'm looking at it, and I don't know if it would have been more efficient to do that exit around the back on the northern side, because I think that's where the other light is possibly. No, it isn't. It's a little bit further up because that's where the other development starts. So there's one, I mean, that's very close, I think, for somebody who drives that area every single day, 2-3 times a day. It'll be worse than Ryder.
Can I help you with that? Is that because it's a larger street? Is that why it's requiring the lights at
But
each?
there's quite a few elements that it's taken into account is the speed, the roadway classification, and the volume of traffic,
Just the traffic
and
analysis?
accommodating turning movements
Okay.
in and out of the tracks. That's why for this one, these are the two locations we could accommodate access to the track, satisfying the spacing between the intersections. Yeah, the south one is right in, right out. Is that?
Oh, yeah, no, I know. I'm talking about the
Yeah,
signals.
you're talking about the one on the north.
On the north, because
and the
that one's
one-
like up close to the next signal, so.
Yeah, and the next one. I think the next intersection is called a Nero Court, which that's going to be restricted, and the one would be, I can't get the name.
Let me help you.
Nero?
Marbella. South of that one.
Is it this one, John? I think it's called Nero.
And Nero is going to be restricted.
Oh,
Marbella.
yeah.
Marbella is the next one. So what we'll get is a signal here, one at Marbella, and then one at the crossing.
So the one here is really close to Marbella, it looks like, because Marbella, there's only 1, 2, 3 houses, and then there's 4 more houses. So within a distance of like 5 houses, there's a second one, right? Because I'm
No.
counting the houses from the northern side of this entrance. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 houses. That corner lot is a lot bigger.
One second.
And I'm looking on my map, and there's 1, 2, 3 houses from Marbella. So like within 7 houses, there's a street.
I'll give you the exact.
You're including
I think it's a Nero.
Mm-hmm.
It's a Nero. Google Street View.
Special computer to tell you
Hmm?
the actual thing. Special computer to tell you the distance.
Yeah, I think it's a Nero.
Yeah, no, there's space.
John, let me find it for you really quick. It's up here.
Just give us a second.
Oh, thank you.
It's a Nero.
Let me make sure.
But just for the purpose, this typically, when you have a residential tract development, you want to have one full movement access. So at least from the one to the north, it aligns with the subdivision to the west side. And so to have the ability for someone to go southbound, typically there's an intersection. So that's the typical logic behind why we try to control one with full access, one with limited access based on the spacing requirements. But he's going to check on what's the next light.
Okay. So there's one signal here at the northerly tract. The northerly access to Evans, that's going to be signalized. The next signal would be in Nero Court. The other one, which is Marvea, that's going to be restricted to right in, right out. There's an opening there now, but that's going to get restricted. And then there
So you're
will
saying the other one is on Nero Road, not on
Nero
Marbella?
Court. Correct. Next set of signals would be in Nero Court.
And then the next
That's
set of
existing. The one
signals,
at Nero is existing.
and then the next set of signals is right underneath the high school.
The crossing,
On-
correct. By the crossing, by the trail crossing. There should be a pedestrian crossing over there, but it's just south of the high school.
High school students.
So there's two signals ultimately within that segment.
And 4 to make it to the high school.
Third will be the high school.
4th. Because there's this one, there's a one on
And Nero Court,
Anira, and then there's one right on the south side of the high school for the walkway for the
That's it,
path. And then
yes.
the high school, because that's where the entrance is,
that's
so
right.
the
Then it'd be
4th.
4. With
Okay.
the high school, yes, that's right.
No, and I understand the limitations we want to have left and left out. I guess one of my concerns is, did we have foresight that we were going to develop that other site to where we can have, kind of had a, way to mitigate it a little bit instead of having to add an additional signal?
You mean connected to the track to the north?
Yeah. Or connected to, to the north, some kind of, so,
The track to the north is existing though.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
or aligned it with the entrance or exit, because I don't remember exactly where it's at for the
Oh,
one
this-
across the street.
It lines up. The northerly point of access to the track, that lines up with the track that is under construction right now.
It aligns with their exit, so that signal was going to be there already either way.
Well, we were going, correct, yeah. They were
Okay.
going to have access opening at that location, yeah. We approved that map.
Okay, I guess that was my question. Is that signal one that we approved with the previous track?
I don't think that was conditioned to be signalized. I don't remember that one, but it will be signalized now. It will require a signal now for full turn movements for both tracks.
Okay. Yeah,
Do we have an exhibit showing the other?
yeah. It's.
Right there.
Oh,
yeah.
there we go. Okay. No, that's
Well, this exhibit shows Evans Road in relative to the entitled tracks to the west.
Mm-hmm.
But they were conditioned, I think. I can't
crosses
recall.
okay. Yeah, it lines up with
To the empty
36647.
part, right? Yeah. They can't, okay.
Yeah.
No, because that front part of the other side, that's all DW, so we can't align it.
Yeah, the other side. You mean the southerly driveway or northerly?
On the
driveway?
other, no, the one across the street, the other track.
Yeah, north
Yeah.
of the Borough side.
Right, there's gonna be
North.
no homes like directly across.
Correct.
Okay. And you couldn't do the southerly because of the street it's on, it would be too big for,
Close.
too
It'd
close
be
to the,
yeah,
okay,
to the intersection.
all right. Okay, well, thank you for looking that up. And then for conditions of approval, I noticed that for, it just said for graffiti, we just have to cover it with similar color, but can we add that panel to panel like we've added to the other ones? And there was one other thing I wanted to bring up. Oh, the sidewalk. I was on the panel that, when we worked on the other side, and driving it by it now, I noticed the track on the northerly side of this, it has a really nice sidewalk and kind of an embankment with some landscaping, and we didn't include that on the other side, and you can tell the difference, like you're driving south on Paris, and it's just like block wall, and there's place like where they're gonna do little trees, but I really, really like the way the construction on the northern side where there's sidewalk and a little bit of landscaping, so it kind of diverts the eye from just block walls. Do you know if we're gonna do that here?
For the interior streets or for the
For the
Evans
one on
Road?
Evans?
Evans? So essentially, I think the city engineer conditioned the project to pretty much mimic what was entitled across the street. Correct me if I'm wrong, John.
No, they, along Evans Road, they're conditioned to build a sidewalk, to construct a sidewalk.
No, I know that, but
But-
for the one on the western side that we approved, there's like not a lot of space for landscaping, but the one on the north has kind of like little embankment or like little levels where they have landscaping, so it breaks it up a little. So you see how on the northern side, the houses start a little bit further away from the street because there's kind of a little landscaping and there's a nice little sidewalk. I'm thinking about safety for the kids that are walking because we don't want the sidewalk close to the street because of cars and the speed that cars are traveling on. So I don't know if we kind of have like a buffer where there's landscaping, sidewalk, and then a little bit more landscaping. Some kind of little parkway.
Are you referring to, I'm looking at an aerial map, there's some sort of, a little bit of meandering, there's landscaping on the left side and the landscaping adjacent to the wall?
Yes.
It should mimic that. If not, we can just verify that in the conditions of approval or put it in the reference to the conditions, make sure that occurs.
Yeah, and I really like, I mean, if you could somehow add into the conditions of approval or look at ways to kind of lift the eye and not just block wall.
I understand, I understand what she's talking about. So when we're looking from this, when we're driving by and we're looking on this, at the sidewalk, we're gonna see the parkway, which is, you know, the sidewalk with the two sides of landscape. But one side should be risen. We would like to see that a little risen on, towards the block wall.
Yes.
So
Like a
that
berm?
it's, so
Yes.
that the
Okay.
block wall is not at eye level right away.
Yeah.
You can see the landscape. Because even then, it has that look that it's right there. And
It
it does
feels
feel like
claustrophobic.
it's too close to a very busy street. And I know we have these lights, but they don't always function. I'm not gonna blame the lights. It's, you know, drivers, don't
Yeah.
always make the best choices. So because there's so many high school students that will continue to use this parkway now from now on, it's definitely a concern.
Yeah. And that was it for me. Thank you.
Commissioner Shiver.
This current zoning of the current zoning of this parcel is specific plan. However, it doesn't really have a designation other than specific plan, correct?
That's correct, Commissioner Shibley. So when they did the general plan amendment, or the general plan, the most recent one, they actually designated that area a specific plan. However, it doesn't have an underlining specific plan in itself.
And the property on the southern side across Ramona Expressway is currently commercial, right?
Let me double check that.
That's correct, it is
Yes.
commercial.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
So is it potential that this property actually could be divided a different way to perhaps have a commercial aspect on the southern portion?
This discussion.
Are you referring to the commercial part on the south side of Ramona,
Nope,
on this property?
property.
It could have been, and there was, just for your history, at one time, this was supposed to be a Target at the site. It never got processed, and it just was left unentitled. And so, so that's why it is what it is right now, and it's residential zone.
Trying to be residential zone. Has the applicant also requested to perhaps make the lot smaller?
Well, this is, based on the standards, this is basically just following the R6000 standards. They can't go any smaller than this. So I think what they were intending to do, maybe you guys, the commission might ask the applicant, but however, they tried to, reconfigure the lots to a point where they met the R6000 zoning standards for the minimum lot sizes. And that's basically the best design that they could have, best layout design that they could come up with.
So these lot sizes range from 6,000 to 10,000 square feet, correct?
Actually, they range from 6,000 to, the biggest one is like 12,000, with an average of a little bit over 7,000 square feet.
No further questions at the moment.
I just want to get clarification, Kenneth. So is the park is a no-go then? We cannot request some kind of dog park or something, so we don't have to look at that empty space?
For which part?
The basin, the DWR area.
The DWR area, that's been owned by the state, and that's for water
Okay.
drainage, so that's not a possibility.
So there's no way that we can move forward, just to get clarification out there for our residents that this area won't have a park available unless they walk all the way to LaSalle Park.
Yeah, it would have had to been negotiated with our community service department very early on, and they would have brought that to our attention. Then we would try to figure a solution, because when you build a park, then you don't pay all the park fees,
Yeah.
and so it's typically one or the other, or that's how it's negotiated, because the park fees is set at a certain rate, and so whatever you do build for the park is based on that. You're negotiating based on the total park fee that would be collected. If that park fee was $1 million, then we would, let's say, we could only build $1 million park. And so I don't know what that number is, but that's how it would typically work.
So that's a community services request when they first submit the application.
Yes, so if that's we understand your concerns, we would make that a priority for other residential tract. This project has been in process for a while, and it's beyond the point where we could kind of figure that out at this point.
That's unfortunate. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. I'll leave my other comments for later, but I think essentially the landscaping language that we add from Public Works, I think it's number 5, the 1 year, that was not in this one. It should be kind of standard. I'm just saying that for the record. And because it's important, the 1 year maintenance of the plants and things of that nature. That was my only comment for that one. Okay, any questions for the staff?
One further question, Nathan. Corner lots they receive a 6-foot high fence, or end cap lots or corner lots. When they abut a lot that is rotated 90 degrees, so the two rear sides don't align, they're adjacent to each other or 90 degrees to each other, the return on the side lot will get a CMU fence as well.
Yes, that's correct, Commissioner Shively. So any fencing that's visible from the public right-of-way is required to have basically, split-face block with pilasters.
Every 60 feet. And so the lots, the corner lots that do get the CMU face, as the adjacent parcel is rotated, the corner lot will get a full-length size CMU block wall. So it'll be across their whole backyard. They'll have two sides of their lot, backyard, completely CMU block.
Yes, that's correct.
All right.
So that portion of their backyard is visible from the street. It will receive a 6-foot high block wall.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, go ahead. Mr. Gomez.
Okay. Thank you. So I noticed, and I can't find it now, under, I think it was conditions of approval, there was a condition where they had to submit 4 different elevations, 4 different color schemes. Do you know if the attempt is there to match it to the development that's on the west side? I'm assuming, but I don't want to assume that that would be the case.
Well, that would actually be up to the, future merchant home builder to kind
Okay.
of select, the architecture and also the floor plan types.
Okay.
So it would be decided, at a later time.
And is that something that we can put in for us to work with, for city to work with the applicant or the developer, whoever's going to build, so that it kind of matches the ones across the street? The color scheme is beautiful. So if that's something that we can work on, just to kind of make it match that section, because they're beautiful homes across the street. The colors are really nice, so we do want to develop that if we can.
Yes, we could do that.
Thank you.
So.
Okay. Thank you very much, Ms. Victoria. It's been a while. And at this time, if the applicant would like to have any presentation at this time, just state your last name, since we know you are, but state your last name and spell your last name for us.
Good evening, members of the commission and staff. Jason Keller with Mission Pacific Land Company, Keller, last name. It's good to be back. It's good to see everyone's faces again. It's been a while since I've been here. Thanks, Nathan, for the presentation. Did a great job. I don't have a whole lot to add to what he said. You guys have had some good questions. I'll just elaborate a little bit on a couple of things that have been brought up. As it relates to the signals and the spacing along Evans, this was all looked at in extreme detail when we brought in the first couple of maps in Stratfor Ranch on the west side of Evans. We worked very close with the city engineer, and we planned it out. We took a close look at intersection spacing, and this is kind of the last piece now. So we've kind of worked from north to south, and as I think we all kind of figured out and landed on, the signal that is proposed on the northerly connecting street to Evans in our tract will align with the street across the street of Evans for the future tract that's coming. So that was carefully thought out, and a lot of attention to detail regarding safety. It was all centered around safety, making sure we had proper crossing locations for pedestrians. That's why you're seeing that pedestrian signal further to the north by the city boundary. So that was all carefully looked at. I think there was a question, regarding the parks. I think Kenneth addressed that. That's part of our process when we submit the map. We would have entertained something, but we kind of went through that process, and the feeling was at this time, no park was needed, and the city will accept our park fee. So I think that's pretty much it. Unless you have other questions for me, I want to thank staff for their efforts in working through and getting us to this point, and we're thankful for the opportunity to be here in front of you tonight. So thank you.
Okay, with that, are there any questions for the applicant?
Yes, I do have a question. I'm sorry. I didn't speak quicker. I'm trying to ease it in here. Thank you. Mr. Keller, I really appreciate the fact that there's developments coming into the city of Paris. And it makes our city look more beautiful, more attractive to young professionals and families is what we're looking for. I was looking at and just to give you the reason why I'm going to ask this question, I'm going to set it up for you. So I was looking at the general plan last night, and I was reading I think it's like the 30-year plan for the city of Paris, and one of the restrictions or the reasons that's holding back businesses coming in, et cetera, is because the city of Paris doesn't have enough housing that is structurally strong, and that is the amount of the population isn't there to support those kinds of businesses, like the said Target that was supposed to be there and isn't. So if you could just give me some information on the reason why you found the city of Paris attractive to want to come in and build here? These homes are large. They're on the larger scale. They're not, when I first purchased in the city of Paris, I had an 1,100 square foot home with it was less than 6,000 square feet lot. So I come from a small home, and now I've transitioned into a bigger home, and I'm still in the city of Paris. But just give us a little bit as to why the city, you find it attractive to be able to build these beautiful homes.
Well, there's a lot of good opportunity here, and you said it earlier, there's a big demand for housing in the city of Paris, and there's land available. So, as I mentioned before, this is kind of the last piece of the Stratford Ranch development area that the company I work with has been developing, I think starting maybe going back 15 years. So there's been good success in the developments that we've proposed, and now some of them have been built. Pulte across the street, I was just in their sales office a week ago, and they've already sold half of the 270 lots that they're building. So that's very positive. And as far as the lot size and the size of the home, we find that the 6,000 square foot lot is kind of the sweet spot when it comes to what the demand is for what people want. It's a reasonable sized house that still has a yard. So once you start getting larger than that, then the pricing goes up. You have more land. There's the homes get larger. Affordability may be an issue. Once you get smaller than 6,000, now you have less yard, a little less independence when it comes to your own areas within your lot. So we find the 6,000 square foot lot a good fit, and I think we've seen, at least in this area of north end of Paris, it's been doing well. It's been selling well, and that's what the feedback we're getting from the builders that we do business with.
Thank you for that. And I know that's probably not a question that you get a lot, but I want the community members that are listening to know what's going on and why it's going on. But I do have another question regarding and I can't see it very well on the map, but do you have any proposed parkways on inside of the development? I see some greenery, but I'm not sure if that's a parkway or not, because those are attractive as well.
When you say parkway, you're talking about a landscape area adjacent to the sidewalk?
Yes.
Yeah, so the internal streets will have a 10-foot parkway, and I think it's 5 foot of that is sidewalk that's immediately adjacent to curb.
Okay.
And the remaining 5 feet will be landscaping.
Because when you turn into these neighborhoods, there's usually a parkway that has landscape on both sides.
Right. So I think our entry streets, I think that will be the case. When the little short entry streets when you come off
Yes.
Evans, Evans will have a meandering sidewalk. So you'll have landscaping on both sides of the sidewalk along Evans, and then once you turn into the track, it's the typical section where you have 5 foot of sidewalk and then a 5 foot landscape parkway.
Do you know if this will make a difference to the buyers, if they are attracted to seeing this, so when they drive in, or if it's not a big determinant to purchaser?
That's a good question.
You're probably not in the sales department. I know. I know.
I'm not.
That'd probably be
I
more.
mean, everything's important, right? When you
Yeah.
approach a project, it's all about curb appeal, what it looks like when you come in. I think for the most part, they're focused on how the frontage of the homes look and the front yards. I think that's probably the main focus, but I've never really asked home buyers when they're coming in this market, if
Right.
that's something they're looking for.
Right. And just one last thing before I move on. The trees that are located on the outside of the development that will be there for the future, we're looking for shade trees. I'm not sure if you're going to be the actual developer or if you're going to sell this property to a developer eventually. But that's definitely something that we would like to be specific, because we do want shade trees, not just pretty flower trees. We actually are looking for the shade in that area, especially because it's a walkway. So it's just something to keep in. I'm not sure if the staff has ever mentioned that, or if it's at the point of even mentioning it at this point.
I think we're conditioned for specific species of trees along Evans. I think part of that, it's trying to keep consistency with what's happening north of the tract. I apologize, but I don't remember what species they were. But we'd be happy to work with staff
Yes.
if there's some options to.
They know
to
which
do that.
ones we're referring to. I think we beat them over the head with that before, but
Okay.
I was just curious, but I want that to be on the record. That's something that we are looking for as well.
Sure.
Thank you.
Okay, anyone else?
When you're referring to the 5-foot sidewalk and then 5-foot parkway, that's not part of their lot, right? Like, that's not their front yard. That is just an extra,
Yeah, that 5 feet is within the city's public right of way.
okay. Thank you.
Commissioner Shively, did you have anything or not? Okay. Any questions? Thank you very much. And at this time, we open it up for public comment. I don't know, and you can tell me if there's anyone on Zoom. IT, if you're hearing me.
No, sir, there's nobody on Zoom.
Okay. Just want to wake you up over there, okay? And Ryan, he's typing away fervently here. But did anyone give any cards or anything?
Interpretation services, did we forget?
Yeah, we have interpretation service. We do have interpretation.
We do.
Yeah.
I think we forgot
Yeah.
to say that.
Yeah. And anyone from the audience have any public comment on this particular item only? Okay, don't rush all at once. Okay. Okay, we close the public comment portion, and we bring it to the public hearing, and we bring it to the commissioners for discussion. And I've got quite a few comments. So we, right, wants to start? Okay.
I just want to start off by reiterating what Commissioner Gomez said about seeing new projects come into the city like this, especially new homes. I feel like having new homes gives the residents an opportunity to invest within the community. So, and also I think, I do think that adding a park to this project would have been the cherry on top. But other than that, I mean, new homes is always going to be a plus for us.
I echo my fellow commissioners. I think a park area or some kind of green area in the middle or some lots would have been nice. You know, it's family homes, are built to be family homes, so young families want to have places to take their kids to ride their bike, walk, even, you know, have some green area to just come home and be walking distance so you don't have to get in your car and drive somewhere. That's one of the only drawbacks I see to this. I also, you know, usually we want to have kind of that buffer between traffic and pedestrians. But I'm thinking about, no, you don't think about this. In my neighborhood, we don't have that buffer. And it would have been nice. But I don't think we see that a lot, especially in the smaller streets, just because of traffic flow. I really want to emphasize, you know, that landscaping on Evans and making sure we keep. I notice a lot of students get dropped off on the bus stop on the southern side, and they cross, Ramona, heading towards the school. So I know that there's a lot of students on bikes, skateboards, walking. So, you know, I like that there's a little bit of a buffer there. Cars are traveling really fast. And, you know, a lot of the, I say excuses because they're excuses, not reasons, we get for not developing commercial in the northern side is because there's not enough houses, houses per capita or whatever it is. So I really think, you know, I was happy when the development across the street was happening because, you know, then maybe we can get commercial on that southern one. This one too, I'm hoping that something like this really is going to drive the commercial development up north.
Only if you want to.
You don't have to push me on that. Yes, so going back to the parks that we've mentioned already, I'm not sure if it's possible to, in the future, when future developments come into the city, if having some kind of green space, whether it be a small dog park or a bench or so, something where the residents are going to be able to take a walk and not have to stay within, or if they do choose to stay within their neighborhood, that they have a place to sit down to watch the sunset. This is such a nice location because you have the lake right there. You also have the Speedway, but that's another story. But they're going to get first seats to all the fireworks, so that's going to be a plus. But I think if we can submit that as a request to community services for the future, instead of, saying, the option to really try to push for that. But I agree with my fellow commissioners, and thank you.
Oh, you're next, so go ahead.
I kind of, I wish that, there is an avenue to make smaller lots for more economical reasons, with the cost of construction and everything going up a little bit. Although I think that missed the boat a little bit. There could have been some things that could have been done, like creating the community. One of the concerns I do have is that it is adjacent to the roadway or the racetrack, and I would propose that the developer provide an acoustical study to limit the to raise the S2C rating of the windows, at least a good portion of the easterly lots, so they can kind of dampening the sound during the I believe it's Friday and Saturday nights that they have the races there. Those are the concerns that I do have. That is currently what I have.
Okay, I'm going to be longer. And I'm going to throw a monkey wrench in this too. One of the things too, this happens to be the month that makes me the 20th year I've been on this commission. So it's a personal thing to not have missed a meeting, which is almost impossible to do. So I must be some kind of AI or some kind of robot. But I've seen this original development up north, and I know what goes on in this area. I can tell you that I'm going to be a little more specific, but I'm diametrically opposed to this project completely. And I'll give you reasons why, and I very seldom vote no in 20 years. This is one of the reasons why. Well, several reasons. One is the cross from a raceway and fairgrounds. When you cross from Wayfair, those sounds cannot be with a 6-foot wall anyway. But you can't do anything to attenuate those sounds. And the parkway and that whole fairgrounds needs an update grade. It's pretty bad. There's not really much going on other than motorbikes and things like that. And this really just puts single-family residential right across the street from that. I was opposed to it up north. It was voted down. But I'm definitely opposed to it here. Second reason, we're giving up a lot of commercial space. We're giving up this, I can't believe anybody would be saying yes to this, but commercial space is at a premium. We gave it up with Amazon on Paris Boulevard. And down south, I don't even know what happened to Mid-County. If that goes through, we just about eliminated anything there. So we're running out of space for commercial. And we're across from a fairgrounds that would be really upgraded if you had something that I would propose to look into, and that's mixed-use development. Mixed-use development is very popular now. Ask the Urban Land Institute. Yeah, they're one of the ones that promote it. One West in Costa Mesa is an example. And One West has 1,057 residential units. You're talking about multifamily and RENA numbers. This is part of the RENA. And you start talking about bringing in multifamily residential use with a possible hotel, with restaurants, with a cultural and historic monuments that would be a part of that. That's what mixed use is. It means the community has a say in what's there. You're talking about parks, you could have a lake in there, you could have office space around the lake, and there's things that you can do, and I would just ask them to at least look into that, because this is prime property. Hotel could also be part of that. You have 46 acres. You're talking about single-family residential home, they're going to hear the noise. You already have Ramona Expressway, you already have Lake Paris Drive, you already have things where they take beer and they throw stuff after these sessions. Don't think they're going to be quiet now. So I'm surprised that is not something that was looked at. Also, it was done in Baldwin Park. They had affordable housing that was also part of it. It's the trend now is this. It's not this. The trend is multifamily because the state is starting to get on our case, right? The state's talking about multifamily. Up north, we went to San Ramon. San Ramon has the Bishop Square, and that particular development is office space, and they're adding residential because residential acts as an anchor to the commercial, acts as an anchor to the hotel, and it would develop Lake Paris as a Lake Paris center point. You want a center point in a city. You want a place where you can say, you know, this is a community where we not only have a place where we can say this is a center place, but now it becomes a community within a community. So this is not in Paris. This may spark other parts of Paris. You have no retail store, no grocery store. You would have that if you did this, because this will be a part. So no one entity would be dependent on the other. If you have a store, it's not just going to be Target. That's why they couldn't come. It's not just going to be a Target or those. You're going to have other entities around it and residents. When you have residential, now you're talking about live, work, and play, which is the Paris theme, guys. Just ask the mayor. Live, work, and play. You're going to have more people doing from at-home work. They can take their bicycles. They'll be more environmentally friendly. You talk about electric vehicles. You're tying in that walkway path from Lake Paris to this location. Now you're connecting the city to that. You see, this is the way developers should think, okay, to me. So when you're looking at it as a resident, not just a commissioner, I'm looking at it as a resident saying, this location is one of the reasons why we did not, it originally 16, 17 years ago, designated for housing. It's left open to specific plans so we could do things like that. Something you want to be proud of in Paris. We have cultural monuments going up in the city. Imagine the people of Paris starting to develop their own kind of cultural monument, his museum or whatever within this. When you have mixed use, you've got a variety of things that can go on. And financially, it's one of those things that it takes a lot of effort to put together, but it's one of those things where it should have been at least a consideration to me. And that's the reason. Not saying the development, the house is no good, not saying that. It's just when you have this location, once we give it up, we're done. The four corners of Ramon Expressway in Paris are all gone. Okay, so you can't use that. You can't go west because west is within the airport flightway. You can't do it over there. To go south, I don't know what happened to Mid-County. I don't know what they voted on. But if you start going south, you get very limited places you can do this. And you're talking about Lake Paris as being the center core with the Olympics still hopefully coming in 2028. You want to have this as an anchor already. So it just makes sense from a standpoint of, in Urban Land Institute also agreeing with this, it makes standpoint of having a community start developing that live, work at home, doing the computer stuff, not always going out. And millennials like this. Those millennial Gen Xers, they want to do this kind of walkable communities. You do the research, that's the group. They want to, if they want to stay home, they're going to stay home in apartments and move on. So you could talk about 450 units, 200 units, whatever the number. Evans Road to the west makes sense. Evans Road north, I was against, but that's where they are. The houses are there. This is across from the fairgrounds, and I just hate to give up another opportunity for this commercial since there's nothing to the south. And if you're going to have overflow parking, they're going to go south of Ramona and run across the street to get to the fairgrounds. Okay, so this is the reality. This would help solve that problem. It takes a study. It takes something to look at. It takes something to consider. But that's the only way I support this area, and that's just me, because I did specific research. I mean, lots of research in this on this one. A lot of things to be done. Revenue-producing uses, this is retail, entertainment, office, residential, the lake, the park, hotel, and or civic cultural activities. One of the things about San Ramon, which is obviously a richer community, but one thing about it is they knew they needed to have residential because the residential anchors the other stuff. So when you have residential, 4,000, I forgot how many units you were there, quite a few units, they're going to have walkable spaces, so it'll be on their bikes, their electric motorbikes, getting away from the cars, and now you're centralizing it, and now you're connecting the rest of the community with bicycles. You're connecting the rest of the community with trails. And so in thinking that, maybe I should have been an architecture like that. I should be a developer because I tend to think more like that. But that's what happens when you're on this 20 years. I think you see a lot of examples and you start going, let's start thinking about raising the bar for Paris and yet meeting the housing standard. You talk about multifamily. This is multifamily, but multifamily just walks right into the retail. They walk right into the entertainment venue. They walk right into their favorite restaurant. They walk right into their boutique. They take their piano lessons in there. They take their other guitar lessons there. They take other lessons. All of that could be encompassed in a mixed-use community. So that's the main reason. It's not saying the design, and I talk about the developer, but that's something that I would support. I will not support anything else. because I think that's what we're looking at in terms of having raising the bar in Paris and raising it for our residents so we have something we can be proud of. So I don't ever just say no and just say no. I say no, I want to give some examples of possible things. Planned development overlay would not work here. There's too many acreage. We're not talking about senior overlay housing. We're not talking about that here. We're talking about something that's vibrant, something that could be really, really something for all age groups, but specifically your children, my daughters, that 20-year-old, 18-year-old, they're going to want something that they can be proud of and even develop murals within there. Have cultural activities, cultural centers. 46 acres is a lot of acreage. Okay, so that's why I'm diametrically opposed to this, and it's one of those things I think would be a consideration to look at. There's no park space in here. That just I didn't even have to say anything. That just reiterates the fact that it's not something that's thought of, because there really isn't anything up there. You'd have to run over to Lake Paris and pay $10 to park, right? You'd have to try to run down to the park at Liberty, which is several blocks away. So even that, on the most basic fundamental thing, there's nothing there as a park. What do you do with kids? Where they're going to play? Okay. Ramona is a very loud street, a lot of vehicles. You have to live here to know that. A lot of vehicles, a lot of traffic, a lot of trucks. They're not going to stop. And that traffic there, and you got no buffer. There's nothing to buffer that noise. When you have this kind of thing, you've got the buffer. And you can have setbacks, lots of landscaping, 40, 50% landscaping. You know, I don't want to make Temecula, but at least this is a concept at least to think about and to consider, because I'm not going to speak for them. I'm just speaking for me. And 20 years, 32-year resident in the city, this is a golden opportunity that I would hate to give up. And I don't care who would be promoting it, I'd be saying the same thing. Okay, I don't care if it's KB, I don't care who, I would get the same speech. Okay. So I rarely do this. I rarely would say that, but one thing it does, compatible land uses is part of the mixed use thing. So you have to have compatible land uses. You need retail. You can't just have a store because it's going to go bankrupt. You can't just have a movie theater or a hotel. It's not going to make it. That's why it's mixed use. Okay. And there's several examples in Southern California. I only mentioned two. Okay, I mean, I can go to Pasadena, I can go to Glendale, I can go all these places. They're working, okay? It's just that we just need to start upping our ante and upping the scale, okay? So that's, for me, is pretty much where I am at with this project. And I'm just letting it be known that that's something that should be explored. That's something that I would really consider as something in the future. But for me, there's no way I can support this as it is. Thank you. Any other discussion? I can't imagine you following that.
That's, you have points very well taken on that. Yeah, at one point in time, you know, when it was Target that was the ideal developer of the lots, there wasn't as many houses out there to support it enough. So, doing the demographics and logistics of, revenue streams and stuff like that for a store, it's very important, that they are profitable. Now, with the northerly portions of lots come in, and residents have been building, and now subdivisions are going in and are more supportive for commercial entities. One thing that has always been needing in that northeast side of Paris is residential areas. This is an opportunity that could be missed if it is perhaps changed into residential lots. It's long gone if that's what occurs. The southerly portion of Ramona Expressway, it is commercial. It's not as large and wide of a lot as this is. It's elongated lot with doesn't have a lot of depth to it. I mean, there could be some small residential or gas stations to that such in that southerly portion. So it's not as suited for a large box or mixed use facility. in this area. I think I'm following Commissioner Hammond on this. That it once was an ideal to be a commercial lot, and perhaps it needs to be reinvestigated, or perhaps the owner of the lot can actually do a study and determine why it's no longer suitable for a commercial lot. I know they're a residential developer, not a commercial developer. But I think perhaps a study can be done to signify why it's not going to be suitable for at least a mixed-use development on at least a southerly portion along Ramona Expressway at least. And again, I'm going to repeat that the sound attenuation from that raceway, especially on, in the evenings, I can hear it from my residence on the south end of Paris in Monument Ranch at times. So if I can hear it, the sound travels pretty far. So I'm sure these people are definitely going to be hearing it quite, it's going to be bothersome, especially when it goes to late at night. So I would perhaps encourage the other commissioners too to think about it a little bit further as well. But that's my point as well.
Can I just interject real quickly? There was a discussion with the developer for the commercial development. If you would like to hear why that would be limiting based on the situation around the property, that might, if that would, you think that would be helpful, then you might want to consider opening up for the applicant to explain what happened and why they went with the residential route. That's just something for you to consider. Or I can explain what happened.
You mean the previous project?
No, not the previous project, but this current developer.
Yeah, it's a little different than just saying commercial, though. Mixed use is a lot different.
Yeah, I'm
lot
just
different.
talking exclusively about commercial, and I just want to add it in because the DWR, because you can't have an access over a DWR
Right.
swale, and typically commercial development, they need access along the major roadway. So that was one of the limitations why commercial was more difficult to develop here. I'm just opening up the opportunity. I just wanted to make sure that that you at least heard that, and that was one of the reasons why commercial was very difficult to develop on this particular parcel because of the DWR drainage channel in front of the property along Ramona Expressway.
So, Kenneth, just if I can say, earlier when I made a question to the staff, I asked the reason, why are they requesting a reason for a zone change? And is that reason because it was a multi-use? And the answer that I understood is because they moved from it being a certain size lot to a different size lot. And so did I not, is that what I was told, or did I just not understand the entire answer?
Maybe the question, maybe I can explain it.
Because I do remember
differently.
seeing what you're mentioning, that there was a section at some point that was supposed to be a multi-use.
So
this
the
area.
property was zoned, as I just kind of rehashed, it was zoned specific plan with no underlying regulation. But the zoning was there, and the zoning is R10,000. It was never zoned commercial. There was a time when someone wanted to rezone it for commercial before Senate Bill 330, which kind of told you there's a no net loss requirement.
Okay.
And so, which means that if you rezone something from residential to commercial, you got to offset that, whether you could do that a mixed use, which is what Dwayne is suggesting. You would have to find an offset, and one offset option is a mixed use. But I just wanted to bring up the fact that having a commercial, there would be the challenging, because we did speak with them about that for quite a bit of time, and just want to explain the limitation because Ramona Expressway has that Department of Water Resource, and that is quite a bit of a wide drainage channel. And to build something over DWR would be difficult. It's a state agency. It's not something that we own and to build a bridge. And so commercial has limitations if you wanted to build commercial on that property.
And this is because of the flood zone?
No, you can kind of see that on that slide. You see that blue
Yes,
wide area? That's a drainage channel.
right.
And the reason for that is because the
Goes
Paris.
along the entire expressway.
Yeah, because the Paris Dam, they're in the next year or so or less, the plan for that is because in the event the dam has a failure,
Right.
they has to drain the water to
Front
the
side.
Paris Valley storm drain channel. So it has to run through the frontage of this property.
Yeah,
And so I just wanted to elaborate on that just because I wanted to make sure if you didn't understand that, I wanted to share that with you because we didn't necessarily highlight those facts for you.
okay.
Yeah, it's not so much an issue of going over the drainage. You can make amendments to that. Because Lake Paris Drive, and you're going into that, you have that means that that kind of development is something that is a priority. You can, to say that drain, that's always going to be there. And you still have houses you're building next to it, no matter what kind of smell that might be, because you don't know what there's going to be in the drainage, right? So either way, you can make mitigation things on that. It's not a question of having to do it. It's just something that would like to see because housing there, and we're not talking about the sound because I noticed there wasn't much talk about sound, and I did read the MND. It's mostly from the housing aspect, from that location, not the sound coming in from the fairgrounds. Not the sound coming in. We didn't talk about that part, just like up north. So that's not really going to hold water. I'm just saying is the issue of sound really should have been talked about as far as your mitigated thing. It really was coming from the houses. You're not going to have much sound from houses. What about the sound from the boulder bikes? Because that is influence. You had receptors, but it's not receptors going that way. It's receptors coming into the residential. So that's part of it too. So it's not just the building. It's also the motorbikes, the fairgrounds itself. We don't know what's going on with the fairgrounds, the parking, and all the other Saturday events and things. As we come to summer, a lot coming up. So you've got a sound issue and you've got a noise issue. That's the primary reason why, even up north there's a buffer. There's not really much there but dirt. Okay. But you've got a buffer, but you have two-story houses to the north too that overlook the wall. So the wall doesn't really do much because those houses are 2 stories. So where's the buffer with the 2-story houses that were allowed to go north? See, I know because I just happened to be here at the time. So I'm just saying that is something to be looked into, and if for some reason that's fine. That's just me not saying that I'm in favor of it. And I'm just saying that's something that should be explored. There's no way that I'm going to change that at this point. But whatever mitigating circumstances is something we need to look at, would need to be explored. That's just my opinion. And if that's, it's up to the group here to decide if they want to do it. But, you have lack of parks. You don't really have anything to the north in terms of retail. You have nothing in terms of stores. And those people have suffered for 30-some years. Okay. And we're not hearing anything about that. So we're saying, well, they can't do this, they can't do that. Well, who's going to build to the south? They haven't done it in 30 years. So are you going to put in a store? You're not going to put in a store unless there's something to the north. And that's why we did not allow it to be residential in 2005. It's just kind of open-ended, specific plan. Not knowing that things have changed, housing was big then came industrial warehouses. And it's industrial warehouses that are really killing us. And there's a lot of pollution there, and so this kind of would offset. But anyway, that's my feelings are on that particular issue. Any more discussion? Because I'm pretty much talked out. Okay. Oh, go ahead. I knew it would be.
Commissioner Hammond, before we make any judgment, one of the items that need to be revised in the COA is on page 2, number 7, which is the graffiti.
We added that. Yeah, we added that.
Yep, it needs to be the painted in full panels instead of parts.
Just, oh my gosh, a pet peeve of mine. I'm sorry, guys. I really want to cut it short, but when they do the panel to panel, if they can, I don't know who needs to hear this, but that beautiful border on the top of the block wall, it's a different color normally.
Don't paint it the same color.
Please don't paint it the same color, right?
Yes.
It defeats the purpose of paying to even have that there. It's so expensive. We're upgrading our wall, and it's so expensive for block and the two-tone and all that. So I don't know who needs to hear it, Kenneth. You do. So just a memo.
No, I would like to add to echoing what my fellow commissioners are saying. I'm very disappointed that, with every project that comes up, we're kind of setting the bar for what's going to happen in the future. This one has no green space. I'm thinking about my family when the girls were younger. We used to take them riding their bikes outside. We like to go sit in the park and just bird watch and animal watch. So I feel like, the lot across the street was zoned strictly for residential. There wasn't much we could do. But then we're saying we can't cross over the channel. But I'm thinking, you're right. It goes all the way down Ramona. And on the north side, there's a Starbucks, there's a McDonald's, there's gas stations, there's access to the lake. I really feel like we would be selling ourselves short if we just approved a bunch of houses without amenities, without things for our community to enjoy. And, and I'm with you. We need shade. When people go walking out here, it gets hot. We don't want to be sitting there in burning sun. I don't want to sit on the sidewalk with my daughters. So, I'm echoing my fellow commissioners. I don't think this is a right move for that area. I live in that area. That just means there would be more houses, and I would have to, for the rest of my life, or as long as I continue to live there, I would have to drive that much further because this got approved. And if I sat on this panel, and, for the rest of my life, I can never complain about it because that would have been me.
Okay, anyone else? Okay. If anyone would wanted to make a motion, I'm not going to be the one. But,
Oh, public
We
comment.
did.
Yeah, we opened it for public comment, right?
Okay.
Commissioner Hammond, do you wish to entertain the Kenneth's idea of having the applicant
Yeah.
discuss further?
We'd have to open back it up for public comment. So we can open it up for public comment if the applicant would like to come.
You can open up.
Well, open up.
Thank you for the opportunity to address the commission again. Kenneth touched on it. We did go through a preliminary application review process with staff early on because we knew that there was potentially a desire for commercial at this site. So we looked at that and met with staff, and during the course of that time was when we were approached by the Department of Water Resources with their project that's scheduled to start construction this summer. That's a 150-foot wide property that they have between our property and Ramona Expressway, and it's going to be a very large channel that's going to be constructed. In addition to that, they're acquiring property from our southern piece along the corner of Ramona and Evans. What we looked at and what was going to be left there, as you all know, commercial is going to need to be on corners, major corners of intersections. We looked at the opportunities there for commercial use, talked to different retail companies to get their opinion. The feedback was not positive for commercial use there. That's why we ended up going with residential use here. And we know lots are important in the city of Paris arena. Going back to the zone change, our 10,000 is 10,000 square foot minimum lots. I don't think that's really the desire of the city of Paris at this point. That's why we're requesting the zone change to smaller units to get the unit count a little higher. So in our opinion, and based on opinions that we've got from people that are in the business, because of the channel and the limited frontage it has on Ramona Expressway and the property that's being acquired from our property along Evans as part of the state project, this is not a viable commercial site. It just loses too much visibility from the corner. It's much better suited across the street on the south side of Ramona Expressway. There's commercial opportunities there. So that's kind of where we landed with staff when we went through preliminary application review process and then formally to our tentative map application. So that's what I'd like to add to that. As far as noise, I haven't heard of any issues from existing residences immediately north of this site. I've been out there a lot. We've been doing a lot of development out here. I'm aware of the track. I know it could generate noise, but I've never known it to be an issue to the point where it's been a nuisance or a problem for the existing community north of this tract. At least it hasn't been expressed to me, and we haven't heard that complaint coming through the city. So we would look at and be open to looking at any additional acoustic study along Lake Paris Drive. If a higher wall would help, we'd be amenable to that.
So I'm expressing it now. I live to the south of it. I'm not even to the north of it, and it is ridiculous. I have a friend that lives directly across the street. She can't open her windows that are facing Ramona Expressway because of the dirt, the noise, and all the pollution. Like, her kids got sick every time she opened that window. So if you haven't heard it, you're hearing it from me. And I live south and a little bit eastern. So you're hearing it from me and from several residents in that area. And I know I've expressed, last time there was a huge event at the fairgrounds where they even turned the music and it was facing the south. It's going to be right next to these people. So you're hearing it now, if you hadn't already.
Understood.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. And I reiterate what I said earlier. You have a fairgrounds that's across the street, and to mitigate that is not possible with what they're talking about here. It's residential. And we have to talk to people who live in the area. And we drive in this area, we live in this area, we know this area. It doesn't matter what it's when you live here and you know that that's an issue. So I just think that we're closing the public comment, I know. Yeah.
Mr. Chair, but before we close the public
But
hearing,
open up the public?
you would have to allow members of the public to speak.
Yeah,
again.
that was next, yeah. Either Zoom, I can't remember Zoom or in the public. Would the public like to comment on this at all, since we did open up a public comment?
Can we check if there's any Zoom?
That's what I was just saying, yeah.
No, ma'am.
Yeah.
There are no Zoom, so it's on record that there's no one on Zoom at this time. Okay.
Okay, we close the portion. I think we've had a lot of discussion on this one. So, not gonna, I can't make a motion anyway, so if someone likes to, that's up to them. But, yeah. There's no motion. We still have to vote.
Mr. Chair, if I may, the project's before the commission, so the commission would, have to make a decision on the project.
Yeah.
So it would be a motion to recommend approval to the city council or a motion to recommend denial to the city council.
Okay.
So either or.
We'd have to read the whole wording. I'd have to read the whole thing, do we?
In terms of
adopt this and all that.
Well, if the commission's decision is to for example, if it's a motion to approve, then you would have to go through
The whole
what we usually do, and then we would also add in the proposed changes to the item. If it's a motion to deny, then I can walk you through that
Oh,
process
yeah,
as well.
go ahead.
We currently, no, he was gone. Sorry. We did have a mover, but she removed it.
Huh? Oh, yeah. Motion to,
So that would be the question. The commission would have to do something with this project.
Right.
So it could be a motion to recommend approval or a motion to recommend denial, something along those lines.
Commissioner Gomez, do you wish to make a motion for approval? You can state it, or you can make a motion for denial.
My motion is for approval.
okay. Commissioner Gomez has made a motion for approval.
So that would be a recommendation, a motion to approve the resolution. Bear with me, I'm going to bring it up. That the city council approve it, the item, with the proposed changes to the graffiti language. And was there anything else?
The language
sound
for the,
attenuation studies?
The sound attenuation studies
and the landscaping.
and the landscaping. Could you
I
articulate
mean, the public works language.
the public works language for the landscaping? So those three items.
And then there's an architectural condition to try to make sure that it matches the architecture to the residential development that's under construction to the west.
Yes, and did we mention just the additional landscaping, the berm? If
We can add that in there. I have 5 here I listed, so.
Okay,
And I believe the applicant mentioned something about building a higher wall for the noise.
and looking at analyzing further ways to mitigate the
Yeah, the
noise.
acoustical study.
Right.
And an additional, let's just say 8-foot high fence, which would be, if that's acceptable, noise acoustical study and the 8-foot tall, and I think they would be acceptable to that if that's a recommendation.
Right.
Okay, so just to clarify the motion, it's a motion to adopt resolution number 22-07, recommending that the city council adopt MND 2370 and approve GPA 21-05040, ZC, 21-05039, tentative track maps 38071 and 38071-1, TTM 21-05032, and based on the findings and subject to the conditions of approval, with the changes that we had just discussed, that I believe staff is good on. Okay, so that would be the motion.
Okay. There's no second, so. No second, so.
So if there's no second, it looks like then that motion dies for lack of a second.
Mhm.
And at this point, back to the commission to make another motion that it desires.
So now it's open, right, for someone else to?
Yes.
Mhm. Anybody can step in.
Ma'am, you wish to make a motion?
Mhm.
I would like to make a motion for denial.
So to clarify, that's a motion to recommend denial to
Denial.
the city
Mhm.
council
Mhm.
of the various applications that have been made. I would ask that the commission, once a second has occurred, I would ask that the commission articulate the reasons for that denial.
Okay.
I'm sorry, before the second occurred, that
the
Commissioner Lopez articulate the reasons for that denial in relation to the findings that are in the resolution. So that's something that,
Right.
as a group, the commission can come up with, and Commissioner Lopez, you would just incorporate that into your motion.
Okay. One, further study was not really done to our satisfaction in terms of noise attenuation of this project from Lake Parish Fairgrounds. It really is not adequate. Second, the consideration for future mixed-use development, not commercial only. Mixed use is different than just saying commercial, because that can entail residential and lots of residential, but multifamily. So that is just a consideration to get that part. So we focusing on target. It's not target.
Yeah.
We're talking about retail. We're talking about commercial. We're talking about these things, and looking at ways and just reviewing that and bringing that concept. So not to make the zone change would be 3. So it's really not a zone change. It's really just saying that it would not be R10,000 or R6,000, but at least do the study to consider mixed use. So a consideration of study for at a future date. Mhm. Trying to articulate something I don't have written down. So
I would like to add another consideration for parks and greeneries.
parks. 3, yeah.
We need a second?
Second.
So just to clarify the motion, so it's a motion to adopt that resolution 22-07, but with the modification that it recommend denial to the city council based upon the reasons that were just articulated right now, and I guess throughout the meeting, throughout this item as well. Does that reflect your motion, Commissioner Lopez?
Yes, it does.
And was there already a second?
Yeah.
Commissioner or Vice Chair Shively, are you okay with that change?
Yes, I am.
Commissioner Lopez,
Yes.
Commissioner Jimenez,
Yes.
Commissioner Gomez,
No.
Vice Chair Shively,
Yes?
Chair Hammond.
Yes.
With a vote of 4 yes and 1 no, this motion passes.
Would anyone like to take a break? Or are we okay?
I need a break.
5 minutes recess. Thank you. Be patient with us.
Now I need my coffee. I'm like, can I make it a double? Jack Black?
Okay, guys, let's come together. Thank you for the break. We needed it. We're shivering up here, but we'll. I mean, it's cold up here. Okay. We reopen the commission. We start with 7B. And 7B is Developmental Plan Review, DPR 20-00022. Proposal to construct a 15,127 square foot medical office pharmacy building on 1.32 acres located on the south side of 4th Street and approximately 500 feet west of Park Avenue within the community commercial zone. Applicant Curtis Lively, Grand West Associates. Requested action, adopt resolution 22-10, finding the project categorically exempt from CEQA under section 15332, class 32, infill development, and approving DPR 20-00022 to construct and operate 15,127 square foot medical office pharmacy building based on the findings and subject to the conditions of approval. Is there any ex parte communication, site visits, or anything like?
Nothing to add for me.
Drove by the site.
I know
none.
of the site.
None for me.
Drove by the site, looked at the site. Okay. Finally, right?
Yes, finally, here we are.
Okay.
Thank you, Chair, and good evening, members of the Planning Commission and staff. This project, as mentioned, is the Bonnaroo Medical Building project. The project site is currently vacant with a community commercial land use designation. It is located just south of the West Street and 500 feet west of Park Avenue. It is surrounded by other community commercial land use designations to the north, east, and west, and an R10,000 land use designation to the south. As a point of reference, to the north, we have the existing multi-tenant commercial building, and to the east of the project site, we have the existing Dollar General store. This image is a street view looking south from 4th Street to the project site. This is a street view looking southwest from the public right-of-way. This is also an image from the public right-of-way, more of a panoramic view of the southeast. And this is an internal front property view. So basically standing in front of the property, looking north, this is what you would see, which is the existing multi-tenant building. With respect to the project site location, with respect to access, as a matter of fact, it will have a decorative paved entrance will be provided to the site, which will be restricted to a right in and right out for vehicles traveling west to east, and a left in only for vehicles traveling from east to west, and it will be a controlled entrance with a raised half median pork chop, if you will. Again, as mentioned, the medical office being proposed this evening is 15,127 square feet on 1.32 acres. It will have a solar panels on the roof of the project site, but it will still be shielded, so it will not be seen by public right-of-way. It will provide 72 vehicle parking spaces, and as well as providing EV parking spaces and its respective handicap spaces. In addition, the applicant will be providing 12% landscaping, which exceeds the 10% of what is mentioned in the community commercial standards. And speaking of commercial standards, it does meet and exceed the commercial standards. With respect to the parking standards, 70 spaces are required and 72 will be provided. These are 2D elevations of the building. I believe the material illustration board will be circulating. The architecture staff has determined that it's a modern craftsman, if you will. The wall surface will be used with a composite wood paneling system that interlocks. The remaining wall surface area will be stuccoed in a light color. On the stucco area, we'll have a metal awning. The wood paneling and the metal awning will be carried out 360 degrees throughout the entire building. So even the back and the sides will have the wood paneling system and the metal awning. Also, there is a raised roof at the entrance of the building with a stone cap component and a trellis wall-mounted feature that's going to be placed at the front and at the east of the building. Here we have a rendering that depicts more realistic as far as what the materials would look like. And here we have a rendering of the southeast view from the public right-of-way. Staff recalls that the commission also feels passionate about the trash enclosure carrying the same architectural features as the building. We think that the applicant really took that into consideration for this project as they carried out the base and cap columns, the wood trellis component, however, providing a solid roof to meet water quality standards, and as well as having landscape around the trash enclosure. With that said, staff's recommendation this evening is for the Planning Commission to adopt Planning Resolution 22-10, finding that the project is categorically exempt from CEQA under Section 15332 as a Class 32 infill development project, and approving DPR 20-00022 to construct and operate a 15,000 square foot medical office and pharmacy building based on the findings contained in the staff report and subject to the conditions of approval. And that concludes my presentation. I'm available for any questions that the commission may have. This evening, we also have Mr. Curtis Lively, who is the architect and project manager for the project, as well as his engineer, Mr. Arturo Bananal, for any further information the commission may need. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's been a long time, huh?
It has been, hasn't it?
I thought we were going to go easy on it, didn't we?
Oh.
Okay. Don't count on it, no.
Can you move this slide back to floor plan or site plan?
Site plan.
Just for review.
Ah, okay. Oh, did you have any questions? Oh, okay.
Okay, I was waiting for a question. I do have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
How many EV parking spaces?
I believe it's a total of 3.
3.
Yes.
I like the idea of having the EV parking, and I also like the idea of the solar panels. I'm glad that, I'm pretty sure the staff worked with them on that. And it looks like the drawing doesn't seem to give it justice, because if it's gonna have that panel, that wood panel, that's gonna be a nice feature, that craftsman, modern craftsman look. Was there discussion about moving to the trash enclosure? Was there discussion about enclosing the top to avoid jumping over into
That's a good point of reference.
something
Yeah.
nice,
We
a
can try
wrought
and-
iron, something that it just wouldn't allow a human to get through there?
We can incorporate the guide wire that we did for the gasoline project.
Something that looks clean.
We can
and-
add that.
Yeah, just nice.
Yeah,
not
it
too
won't
much,
look
but-
visible once you get there.
Yes.
The obstruction will be there for
'cause-
any.
Yeah, to
of
not take
course.
away from the look of it, because it's very
Yeah.
nice. Thank you.
Yeah, we could definitely add that as a condition.
Oh, yes, please. And I didn't see much of landscaping on this one. Do you have a drawing for landscape on this?
It should be as part of the development package that was provided. There should be
Don't
a.
have it with me, I'm sorry, I left it.
My
at home.
apologies. Oh, okay. I can provide one.
Unless one of my fellow commissioners who was responsible enough to bring it with them. May I borrow a pencil? I know. I'm a pen, I'm kidding. It's like- it's the equivalent of asking for a pencil and a piece of paper. I literally ran out, I'm sorry. Just, sorry, Vice Chair. Was the recommendation, was there a discussion regards to what the Planning Commission likes to see?
As far as the drought tolerant landscaping?
Yes.
Yes.
And the trees, the coverage for shade on the
Yes.
parking especially and the entrance? I want to confirm that for you right
Of
now.
course.
I believe it's one tree for every 8 parking stalls. Is that correct?
6.
Or is it 6? One,
to 6 or
one planting finger for every 8 stalls or something.
It was way in the back.
1 to 6? That's what I thought.
The ratio is 1 per 6.
1 to 6.
So on the drawings, I only see 4?
Yep.
And then I see some evergreens against the property line. Now,
Okay.
we did want to, we just came back from the academy, so got some ideas. This is a beautiful print, but it doesn't reflect what it looks like now, as in the landscape. This looks like it's up north, Northern California. And I know that this is desert, there's no trees, or if any, bushes, maybe overgrown bushes. So it looks great on the paint, on the site, the drawing, but I know it doesn't reflect it. So if we remove all of those trees that are on the on the outside of the property line, there's no way that there's enough trees on there. So if we can please work with that, that would be great, please. And I don't feel I have to tell you, but you
That's
know.
quite all right.
Yeah.
So is the recommendation to have more interior trees?
Yes,
Towards the center of the property? Is
Yes,
that-
mhm.
Okay.
In the property, for especially shade trees, if this is going to be a medical center, we would like the patients or, you know, who arrive, the staff members who come and go, to not be too affected by the weather, especially if they have to park their cars outside and wait and whatnot, you know,
Of course.
just to accommodate the community and make it a pleasant experience to go there.
Okay. Staff will work with the applicant.
Thank
on-
you.
Yeah.
Just quickly note, I counted the landscape, there's 40 trees per the concept landscaping plans. Just want to put that.
How many?
40 trees?
40?
Yes.
It doesn't. Yeah, I don't. It doesn't reflect it in the.
That might be correct. I just have a small
rendering.
print, so.
Kenneth has access. Oh, do you want to see it? I apologize. Next time,
No,
if you include it in the
it's okay.
PowerPoint, I'm so sorry. Okay. Shows about 34. And again, there's some space on there that's kind of gray, so you can't really see exactly. Maybe it's in the legend. It'll say how many. That's probably what Kenneth was looking at. But you got this, so thank you.
Of course, it is preliminary. We will fine-tune it as we get to the working drawings.
Yes,
So.
thank you.
Commissioner Lopez?
My question is in regards to the solar panels. Is that exclusively for the EV charging stations, or is that for the entire building?
That's for the building.
So it's going to be completely off the grid? Like,
I'm not sure in records or how it works as far as off the grid or not. Perhaps Mr. Lively can expand upon that.
okay. All right, then I had another question in regards to the bike rack. So some of the 3D renderings, it was located in different locations. One's adjacent to the building, the other one's on the northeastern side of the sidewalk. I just want to clarify where exactly it's going to be.
Usually we like to have it somewhat close to the entryway. However, sometimes when the utility drawings start coming in, it kind of gets shifted a little, but we'd like to have it at the main entrance or to the side of the main entrance.
Oh, so it's going to be towards the middle.
It will be most likely towards
so
the
those
middle.
renderings are just
Well, they're
concept design?
conceptual and
Okay.
obviously, yeah.
Okay. All right then.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But they'll be there.
Okay. Commissioner Jimenez? Okay.
And for the interior, is this like the layout that is going to be there? Or is it that still conceptual and working with the applicant? Because it seems like there's only one entrance and there seems to be 1, 2, 3 different suites on here. And then like the suite 300 is a pharmacy, but their storage is on the other side. And I've never been to a pharmacy where they have their storage like outside of their pharmacy section. Like, so if somebody needs highly controlled drugs, like they're not going to walk out in the hallway in between everybody to grab it and bring it back. So I'm just kind of wondering if this is a final layout, because as a medical office / pharmacy, it doesn't seem very flowy. Is that a word? Flowy?
The feng shui,
Accessible?
if you will.
Yes, like the entrance is beautiful, the building.
The flow.
But the flow is not there. Like I'm trying to conceptualize where it is, especially when the pharmacy's up north. Then there's, in my head, the suites on the bottom, which is suite 200, would be like kind of the waiting area. Suite 200 would be converted, but storage is separate. So I just want to know, I guess.
Yeah, the concept in that in itself on that, I'll let Mr. Lively expand
Okay.
on that. There might be some tweaking. Again, this is probably the idea that they had in mind, but I'm sure he, as an architect, has his reasons. But again, I'll let him.
And exits, how many were there total? I'm trying to like go back and find, because I just see the main entrance. We have emergency exits.
There are exits to the west of the project site. As far as the calculation, as far as egress and egress and how many exits, I don't have that off the top of my head. I do know that there's also another exit towards the south of the project site. We do have it on the main entrance as well. I don't know if that complies with code, again, as it gets closer and closer to the working drawings. I hate to say this, but I'll defer that to Mr. Lively.
I'm just,
Yeah, that's beyond
your
planning,
okay.
yeah, more into the building code. Mr. Shively might know.
I'm trying not to design this right now.
Well, I already started designing in my head, so too late.
No freebies.
I'm like shifting. I'm like, this is like Tetris. Okay. So the flow around the back, is there going to be a separation? Because I see the way the traffic flows. Is there going to be a gate? What is it? The southerly access on the back by the trash enclosure? Or is there going to be access for vehicles? This is my question. Are cars going to be able to access around the back?
Yeah, yes.
Is that a good idea?
I'm sorry?
Is that a good idea? I'm asking just because, I mean, I like the idea of it being there for fire access, but, if there's not necessarily an entrance point in the back, I really don't see why cars would have to be able to access around the back, especially when there's no parking back there.
That's one way in, one way out?
It's one way in, one way out, so I mean, you can... Deliveries and things like that, but not for regular vehicle access. Like, I don't really see a point for there to be access for passenger vehicles.
On the side?
On the side, yeah.
I see.
Especially because the trash enclosure is over there. So we could have like, I know this isn't a warehouse, but a lot of our warehouses have like a nice gate that's emergency vehicle access or for deliveries or for trash pickup, but not for.
Yeah, maybe we could ask the applicant,
If they're willing to
there's
do.
a reason why they're, if they want to put a gate, I know that there's a trash enclosure in the back and it just provides direct connection to all the way back and then make their circle around, but we can ask the applicant that question to further, if you feel like there's a need to kind of restrict or put a gate or.
Right, and I know the areas, I know there's, unfortunately, there's a lot of homeless and in that area, so I'm thinking about just safety and of patients. I would be kind of scared to go into for an appointment, come out, and there's people in the back. So, okay, we can ask the applicant. Thank you.
Mr. Shive?
My architect hat's not on right now. Solar panels will be installed during construction?
Yes.
EV parking spaces, will they be provided, installed, not just conduit with pull string?
They're conditioned to be installed.
They're conditioned to be.
Well, it's to be provided.
EV code says right now we only have to provide 3 spaces, but each space only has to have a conduit with pull string to electrical panel.
Conduit.
Do they plan on actually providing the EV stations?
The station in itself was not discussed. It was to provide EV parking station. But,
And then-
but the machine, the electrical machine component in itself was not discussed. The conduit system will be provided there. Mr. Lively can talk a little bit more about what his client wishes to.
Yeah.
Final question is there bike lockers, not just bike racks on site?
It would just be the standard
Bike rack.
swivelly,
No
unless the
locker?
commission feels passionate about a certain design feature that we can look into.
Yeah, well,
You're
it
the bike rider.
might be required per the green building code, but the applicant can actually look into that further.
Another applicant questions.
That's all I have for now.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think, anybody else? 2 points real quick, because I know it's been a long night. This is the engineer. I'm going to wake you up this time. Tributary runoff to an outlet into 4th Street. How's that going to happen? Is there something under 4th Street they're going to connect into a pipe, or do they have? Because there's not going to be any drainage on this property, or is there? In other words, you have in the engineering conditions it's going to be into tributary. Does that mean a line is going to be running into 4th Street and connecting to 4th Street?
So what would happen is they probably have to provide for water quality management
Yeah.
provisions.
Yeah.
And then the discharge from that would be able to outlet into 4th Street. We don't have the final design yet, but that's what it's meant. So tributary is whatever comes into the site.
Right.
So we're indicating that you can't block tributary runoff. You have to make provisions to convey that somehow to adequate outlet, 4th Street.
Okay. The 4th Street line is already there. That goes down.
Do you-
That was done when we did Indian Hills.
Are you referring to a
Well,
storm drain system?
yeah.
No,
No. I mean, you said the tributary from this site would be going into 4th Street line. I'm
Not
assuming-
line.
Or
There is no storm drain
tributary runoff into an outlet.
to an outlet. yeah.
Okay, so that's different.
Tributary means anything coming towards the property. You know, and we request that that won't be blocked. So they have to accept it or make conveyance for it.
So that adds to, they're going to have to do that.
Yeah, you basically can't develop your site by flooding somebody else. Yeah.
You'd like to, but you can't. Okay. I didn't say that. Okay. What I do appreciate is the deceleration lane, because it's not going to work unless you have it. So going eastbound, having that deceleration lane, because you'd have accidents galore. And I could just see the council would jump all over you on that one. But the deceleration lane makes a big difference because especially medical office, things are going to slow up and go into that facility. So I think that's a tremendous add-on. But I'm concerned, the only concern, the last thing is, you know, three handicap or disabled spaces in a medical facility in entirety, right? You're talking medical offices, right? Seniors coming up, wheelchairs, and you got 3 handicap spaces. Now, that's a little strange to me for a medical. I wouldn't say this about industrial. For a medical office facility, is that adequate?
Based on the parking standards.
Forget the parking standards, just some common sense. To having
I understand.
medical office facility and you have 3 spaces, right? So you got a medical building, you've got a pharmacy, and it's all we have to do is go to Walgreens and watch people get out of wheelchairs and all that. You're gonna have 3 spaces for this whole facility. I'm just clarifying, right? Okay. Maybe that's a question I have to ask. And they're located where? In one particular, okay.
On adjacent side of the, on
Of
both
the
sides
suite.
of the main entrance.
Yeah, okay. So, in essence, we're not talking about entrances from the Suite 300. We're not talking about entrances from that
Main entrance.
main entrance there, too. So there's no spaces there. There's no spaces on Suite 200 at the bottom, right? And we're going to be walking distances, because not everyone's going to be able to park in front. So if you have 72 spaces, we don't know how many people. I'm just asking the question. I'm not criticizing. Just saying, when I saw 3 spaces, I'm going, wow, for a medical office facility. Veterans, seniors, people with injuries, and you're going to have that. Okay, just put it on record. Okay. Other than that, I didn't have any questions. I think we pretty much designed it. Some outcropping. I'm assuming there's going to be some outcropping from those rocks that are in the back. Yeah, good luck with that one.
Mr. Hammond, would you like to add an addition for us to work with the applicant to add more handicap spaces?
To look at the potential.
Okay.
To see if it's something possible. I want to put something on it, but I'm just doing it from, I'm almost doing the council thing for you, too.
I understand the reasoning, yes.
You're going to get it to the next level, guaranteed. So if you have 3, it's kind of like, if that's, you know, if I have an injury or something, I'm going to have a good time, right? So just make it, right? Just crawl up there. Anything, yeah. So
No,
that's
I
just a
understand.
concern, and that's just being 20 years on this thing, so you start picking.
No, that's a good point. Yeah.
Okay. I'm done unless someone else have some questions for staff.
Another question.
Go for it.
So I know there's an existing sidewalk there, correct?
Yes.
I just noticed that there's no buffer between the sidewalk and the street. And then Highway 74 is a high speed, you know.
Yes.
That's my only concern. I don't know if there's any way to put like like greenery in between to have a setback for the sidewalk.
The only way would be to actually remove the existing sidewalk and replace it, so we can have the buffer, and the sidewalk would have to be within the public right-of-way, but separated, so it'd be at property line instead of being at curb.
Okay, I understand. It's just safety. Safety is what we're concerning. But if it's possible, I think we should for sure do it.
Okay, we'll explore that, but just for your information, if you look west and east, all the sidewalk currently right now is sidewalk, then the landscaping, but we can do that if you want us to explore that, but it would kind of look different from what's out there.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Is everything, like, east to west, it's all developed already?
Of the project site? It's vacant east and west.
It's vacant,
of
so
the
if we
subject
do
site.
for this one, eventually, when the other ones develop, we can follow suit. So it may not match right now, but there is a possibility that when the lots around it develop, we can kind of work around that,
But
right?
we could have trees within that area, because it might
Yeah.
block the line of sight, especially if we have people that, you know, are trying to leave, maybe they're under some medication or something, they may not be able to exit out so easily. But we
Yeah.
could do some sort of low shrubbery or something like that, if
Well,
it
even
could
trees
work.
from a certain distance, like it doesn't have to be right up to like the driveway, but to a certain distance. And if they're tall enough, then they probably won't block the,
Yeah, there's an angle study that would have to
Yes.
be done, but as Mr. Fung mentioned, we can look into it.
please.
Okay. Okay, thank you, sir. Half easy on you today. Okay. Half
Yes,
easy.
yes. I still have blood in me.
we questions, I mean,
Oh,
it's
geez,
not a
peek
problem.
myself.
This is a commissioner. We'll look under a rock if we have to. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. And at this time, the applicant would like to make a presentation. Don't have to, but if you'd like to make a presentation or anything to say, please come forward. And just state your name and spell your last name for us for the record.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Curtis Lively. Last name spelled Lively. And I'm the architect for the project manager. Just from what I recall, the comments, as far as the central layout for the pharmacy, basically what we have is an entry foyer, and the owner requested that we create an entry foyer, and then each of the units on either side would flank that. That way they have to go and buy the pharmacy when they're going and coming to the offices. So that was the purpose of that. As far as the storage, we worked with him as far as the layout that he requested, and the storage that we have is the layout that he wanted for his facility. So we did spend some time laying out the pharmacy. The offices that are going to flank the pharmacy have yet to be divided up, and will probably be in the future after they're leased. As far as the solar, the intention is to provide enough solar to fully energize the building, and we feel we have enough roof area to facilitate that. So,
Any questions for the applicant from any of you guys? Commissioner Jimenez?
So when you're working with the client, he has other medical offices already?
he has other pharmacies, yes.
Other pharmacies, are they pharmacies/medical offices, or?
No, well, yeah, he has buildings that have medical offices in them as well.
Okay.
He typically owns the building, has the pharmacy.
And leases out the,
Leases out, too.
okay. All right, thank you.
Side? Commissioner Gomez, Commissioner Shively?
I just wanted to, was it considered to be it looks like a one-story building, right?
Yes.
Was there consideration for two-story to allow for more?
No.
This is just the standard?
Yeah.
Okay. No further questions for me, thank you.
Hey, Commissioner Jimenez again?
Okay, my last question was, the access for passenger vehicles around the back. Would you be open to blocking that off just for fire access and deliveries and things of that nature, and not full access?
Well, we can work with staff to come up with some way to facilitate that. I don't think the intention was more for fire
Right.
access to create a continuous flow. So we're more than glad to work with staff and see if we can come up with something that works.
Okay, if staff would work with applicant, thank you.
Okay.
Just wanted to say, I agree with Commissioner Jimenez. There's, when it's too wide, there's potential for back parking on the side that will block the entrances. So I do see that also. That's an issue. Thank you for answering the question.
Okay.
Commissioner Shively, did you?
Mr. Lively?
Oh. You knew it wasn't going to be that easy, right?
Do you know if the applicant is going to provide a EV charging station, or is that any intention at all?
Well, basically, we're showing to provide what's required at this point. If it makes sense to do the station, I haven't actually discussed that with him to fully charge that station, but if it's a logical thing to do, then we would I assume, do that.
And the bike locker?
Pardon me?
And the bike locker? Not just a bike rack, but a bike locker for staff?
Well, I guess we would work with staff to find a locking system that is acceptable.
Okay, thanks,
I
sir.
don't know that we intended to put bike lockers, but as long as, I think our intention was to have something that people could secure their bikes.
Okay, thanks, sir.
Okay.
Yes, my only thing, and then I'll let you go, would at least be, I hope it would be open to look at more handicap spaces, because it is the medical office, not just a pull-up pharmacy and come out. And give me a perfect example, MetroLink over here, they got like 15 spaces, nobody uses them. Well, MetroLink has them all in one space, and even if you get it to it, you got to get to the train.
Right.
So that's just the federal government just deciding they want to do something. But this is a medical office facility, so at least considering work with staff, at least be amenable to that. Because if they're all three in the front, but you have parking spaces in the back, you got parking spaces, the other facilities, at least consider it. We know the minimum standard, but could we at least look at the possibility of working with staff at some more spaces?
Okay, well, I think we've met the minimum,
I know.
but we'll work, I believe we have 2 additional spaces above what's required. So we'll work with staff to see if.
And it's more the
there's a-
location.
add-
See, they tend to be here, but not on the 4th Street side, the south side, if there's employees. If employees, it may have an issue too. So I'm just making sure that we have enough to where it's around the facility because it's medical office. If it was medical office, I wouldn't be saying anything, but it is medical office, and you're going to get those kind of people in medical office.
Okay, well, we'll work with staff to
Okay.
see if we can add to those.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm done. Okay. Oh,
One more.
almost there.
Almost there. So it's a beautiful entrance, but it has no real view from the street. Is it possible, would you be open to working with staff and adding some of that architecture to the 4th Street side just to bring a little bit more
Well,
views?
we did add the trellising on the side facing 4th Street, additional trellising that staff requested.
Yeah, I'm looking at the
Are you talking
2D.
about adding,
Something more, because I'm looking at the 2D rendition and it still looks very plain.
you mean like create another entry or?
Like a mock entry, just adding a facade, just so that it looks more appealing from the curb. It has more curb appeal as you're driving by it, because that's the side that people are going to see as they drive by. The entrance is beautiful,
Right.
but it's kind of tucked to the side.
Correct. I'll work with staff to see if we can come up with something that would be acceptable.
Yeah, just
So-
to make it more pretty from the street view. Just because I noticed it earlier, left my mind because I was focused on the beautiful entry, and then I was like, wait, but that's not facing the street.
Right.
That's facing cars. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, thank you very much, sir.
Okay, thank you.
And with that, we open it up for public comment, whether it via Zoom. IT, I doubt it, but IT, I'll ask you anyway. Any public comment on Zoom?
Yes, sir. We
There is.
have one
Okay.
from an Alex Marin. Alex Marin, you have the floor.
Hello, can you guys hear me?
Oh, yeah.
Alrighty. Well, I'm currently at Getz Park. I just walked from Enchanted Hills to Getz Park, and that's a pretty long walk. I'm walking my dog. So I happen to actually walk past the project site, and I got a little comments, not against the project itself, but the outside. So no one mentioned this, but the project is right in front of the elementary school. I know it looks like the backside of the elementary school, but that's a drop-off and pickup area. So I just want to let the project site know that you're going to have a lot of parents parking your facility to pick up their kids. Another thing is, it's very difficult to make a left from Park Avenue into Highway 74, and it's the same thing on the other side in Los Juniors area. And this sort of topic has been brought up at city council meetings. I'm not sure if it's been brought up here in the planning commission meeting, but it's something that is everyone in that neighborhood really is concerned about, because that area is getting developed. I know the other side of the Dollar General, they just sold their land, so they might put something there. Just down more to the west, they're putting a gas station and they're putting a little market. So it's getting developed, but there's no way for pedestrians to get from one side to the other, unless you have to walk all the way up to San Jacinto or walk all the way down 8th Street. I had to walk. If I wanted to go to Dollar General, I'd have to walk all the way down to 8th Street, which is a steep hill. I know you can't really tell when you're driving, but it's a really steep hill. So you have to walk all the way down and then cross and then go back up, which would be very difficult. So if one person wants to go from the pharmacy on the other side to the other pharmacy on the other side, you'd have to get back in your car. And that's just a pain in the butt, you know? So hopefully someone in the city can hear it. I know they always say, oh, we'll get the city engineer to look at it, but it's been like years since people have been complaining about this. Maybe at a footbridge, I don't know, that seems a little too pricey, but I think that's the only solution, either a footbridge to connect one plaza to the other plaza, or a crosswalk to connect one plaza to the other plaza, because there's not much walkability to get from one plaza to the other. But those are all my comments right now. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. I appreciate it. Was there anyone else? IT or?
No, sir.
Okay. Was there anyone else in the audience that can make a comment on this particular agenda item? Okay. Seeing none, we bring it back to the commission. Yes, sir.
Mr. Chair, before we bring back to the commission, I would recommend that you allow the applicant to respond to any comments that were made or during the public hearing.
Okay. If you'd like to comment on what was just stated, you're welcome to.
Well, thank you again. I think the way we approached this was to work with staff. We worked with the traffic engineers to determine, that's when we designed the deceleration lane, right in and right out. I'm not sure this one project has the ability to address all the issues that the gentleman brought up, but I think we've been conditioned to participate in whatever happens going forward. So, and I think we would be part of a improvement district or whatever. I think we're required to do that. So that would be basically my comment on that.
Well, thank you very much, sir.
Okay.
Okay. We don't have rebuttal to the rebuttal. Okay. With that, we bring it to the commission for discussion, analysis. At this time, anyone like to go, or? I'll go ahead. Okay, Commissioner Lopez.
I'd just like to say that I really, really do like the inclusion of the solar panels, especially the fact that it's completely powered by them. I feel like this sets a good example for future projects. Something like a medical office is pretty good sized, and I feel like if this could be powered by solar, a lot of other things could be powered by solar. Also, I just really want the inclusion of the buffer zone for the sidewalk. I feel like that would be perfect for pedestrians, and that's it.
No one else? Okay. Commissioner Shively, are you done?
Sure. Well, architecturally, I think it's an appealing building for the city of Paris. It's new. There's not very many. We have Victorian homes here in the city of Paris in downtown area, but a little bit of craftsman creates a little bit of interest, visually interest, especially along 4th Street. As long as we can, as Commissioner Jimenez said, spruce up the front of 8th Street, I think it'd be much more appealing, because it's a nice looking building, but you don't really get to see the full frontal view of it and appreciation of it until you actually get to the entrance. So definitely the front of it should be more inviting to 4th Street along 74. I do think the applicant will eventually have to add 1 or 2 more ADA parking stalls based off of requirements for I'm sorry, wrong jurisdiction. Based on requirements for medical office spaces and basically it depends on what actual doctors are in there, whether it's orthopedic or they dentistry or something like that. So they may have to add additional ADA parking stalls in there. That's all I got.
And I won't prolong it. Thank you very much. We know that area is in desperate need. Because I live not that far away, so when he says walk up the street, I already know about that. It's quite a hill. And you literally will need a medical facility if you go up that hill and you're not in shape, I'm here to tell you. So, but that's part of the city is definitely. I think some of the other things we'll deal with later, but yeah, definitely an improvement. I can tell you I'm not gung-ho about the architecture because I'm really tough about that, probably tougher than he is. But it's okay. But I think the landscaping makes a big difference. And by looking at trees and landscaping in an area that gets going to be 100 degrees in 2 months. So I think we'll be happy to see some kind of landscaping there. But other than that, I don't have anything else to add. With that, oh, what happened?
It takes a while.
Okay. We have requested action is to adopt resolution number 22-10, finding the project categorically exempt from CEQA under section 15332, class 2032 infill development, and approving DPR 20-00022 to construct and operate 15,127 square foot medical office pharmacy building based on the findings and subject conditions of approval. And I think we had some things we wanted to add on. One was trash enclosure to be, I guess,
Should incorporate some sort of mesh or screening so that it would
screening,
secure.
right,
Yes.
right. Thank you. Landscaping, a buffer zone in terms of that's something we work with staff with, but a buffer zone from the sidewalk to the front building on 4th Street. It is still 4th Street, not the highway, right? It's 4th Street. Okay. Well, that's a buffer. Passenger vehicles around the back. Did we decide on the passenger?
Yes, we did. They were going to work with staff
Staff
to
to
not allow.
vehicles to travel around. Okay. And I think that was the bike.
Handicap spaces?
Handicap spaces to work with staff because I don't think 3 is adequate.
And updating the facade that's facing the street.
4th
Street.
Right. At least 5 there. Okay.
Parasify it.
Well, yeah. Yeah. Okay. You catch those? 'Cause okay. Motion? I can't repeat it, so if you got it down, I hope you got it down. Okay, we need a motion. Commissioner Lopez has moved, seconded by Commissioner Jimenez.
Commissioner Lopez,
Yes.
Commissioner Jimenez,
Yes.
Commissioner Gomez,
Yes.
Vice Chair Shively,
Yes?
Chair Hammond.
Yes.
The vote of 5 yes, this motion passes.
Thank you very much. And now we get to the infamous item 7C.
Here we are.
I knew we'd get to you sooner or later, right? Developmental Plan Review 20-00017, a proposal to construct a 109,229,000 square foot industrial building on 5 acres located at the southeast corner of Nance Street and Webster Avenue within the general industrial zone of the Paris Valley Commerce Center specific plan. The applicant, Katrina DeArmy, if I got it right, Thielen Development, if I'm saying it wrong, correct me later. Requested action, adopt resolution number 22-09, adopting mitigated negative declaration 2371, and approving developmental plan review 20-00017. to allow construction of a 109,229 square foot industrial based on the findings and subject conditions of approval. Is there any ex parte communication or site visits?
Drove by the site.
Commissioner Jimenez drove by the site, sat on the site.
None for me.
Okay. Okay.
None for me.
You back again?
Again,
We
thank
punished
you.
you the first time. You want to come back?
I love, yeah, I love the suffering. Thank you for that introduction again, Chair. As mentioned, we have the Phelan Industrial Project. The parcel is located southeast corner of Nance and Webster within the Paris Valley Commerce Center specific plan with the general industrial land use designation. It is surrounded by other industrial land uses. For added reference, just to the north of the project site, we have the AAA industrial project, and to the east, we have the existing Amazon project, and then to the west, we have existing light industrial, smaller uses. This view is along a street view along Webster Avenue, looking east, and towards or beyond is the Amazon building. This image is a panoramic image, street view along Nance Street, looking south, and the Amazon building is just to the left of this image, but east of the project site. This is an interior view looking north to the project site, and further on is the AAA existing industrial project. With respect to the site plan, the building proposed is 109,299 square feet on 5 acres. The access will be 2 points along Nance Street. The first driveway, or in the red circle, if you will, is restricted for only vehicles for right in and right out only. The most eastern driveway with the blue circle, if you will, is restricted for only right in, and that will be only designated for trucks. The access from Webster will be a controlled right out for trucks by a directional driveway, and a right in for vehicles to access the limited miscellaneous parking for security maintenance, if you will. In addition, the project site will have outdoor employee areas as well as break areas, shaded break areas, if you will. It will have a 3% skylight natural lighting component to the building. It will also be solar ready. So when they do have a tenant in mind, it will be ready for them to go, as well as EV charging stations. In addition, they will be providing 18.9% landscaping that far exceeds the 12%. With respect to the industrial development standards of the specific plan, it meets and exceeds them. With respect to the parking standards, 43 are required and 44 are being provided. This is a three-dimensional rendering. I believe Mr. Griffiths has the materials board. Again, the proposed architecture for this building is modern. The building uses a combination of roof line and vertical columns with recessed panels and windows with stone veneer. The stone veneer is provided at the office entrances for symmetry, as well as into the center of the project site to break up all the wall surfaces. The color palettes range from different shades of gray to and stone to complement the building and provide more interest to it. These are the 2D elevations. The image to the top will be the image from Nance Street. Staff recalls that the commission wanted to provide balance and symmetry, so the same features that you would see at the main office entrances are also being provided on the opposite side that they're located. These are the 2D elevations from the east and the one along Webster Avenue. We felt that the project applicant provided, again, good symmetry with all the architectural enhancements, as well as also placing them throughout the wall surface, the elongated wall surface or the long surface of the walls to break up all the wall expansions. With respect to CEQA, mitigated negative declaration number 2371 was circulated to the surrounding property owners within 300 feet and to all the public agencies. During that 30-day public review period, staff did not receive comments. Therefore, staff's recommendation this evening is for the Planning Commission to adopt 22-09, adopting a mitigated neg deck number 2371, and approving DPR 20-00017 based on the findings and subject to the conditions of approval. And that concludes my presentation. I'm available for any comments that the commission may have. We also have Ms. Kathleen, who's the applicant representative for the project this evening, as well as her development team and her further development team that's on standby via Zoom to provide any clarification the commission may need. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. And at this time, are there any questions for the staff concerning this project? Mr. Lopez?
I have a question.
Yes,
so
sir.
you said that the building is going to be solar ready, but does that mean that the solar panels are going to be already installed, or?
That, I don't know. I'll let Ms. Kathleen expand upon that.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Anyone else? Yeah, okay.
Thank you. So the, what is it? The green circle. I'm all confused with what's up in north and south and east. The green circle on
Yes,
here?
ma'am. Webster.
On Webster, is that going to be, you said, left in, right out, or right out only?
It'll be a right out only for trucks to exit and go on Webster to take their truck route. But it could be a right in for domestic vehicles to access the parking that will be located to the east, southeast, if you will. In accordance to our parking standards, we had to meet the parking standards. Staff worked with the applicant and their engineers to concentrate as much as the employee parking as possible, which I think we did achieve that along Nant Street. But again, to meet our parking, we had the additional 5 stalls that we had to place, and that was the best location we could.
There's 7 back here, right?
Oh, 7.
Yeah.
Yes, I believe. Sorry.
So, you know, that's concerning to me.
Of course.
Number one, because it's trucks coming this way, and unless, is there going to be signaling on the floor, like line divisions for trucks to stay to the right? You
We
know,
can
like there is on the
incorporate
street.
that.
Can we incorporate that?
we can.
Or have some kind of little bumpers or something just to kind of still divide the big rigs from passenger vehicles?
A traffic controlling measure, if
Some
you will.
kind of traffic
Okay.
controlling measure or division method as much as possible. And is there going to be something on behind that building right above where the passenger vehicle parking is? Is there a way, and like, I don't know if this is even possible, is there a way to have a censored door, if I can say, for trucks coming out where it will open for them to completely divide so that those cars cannot get up? Have, I guess, a blend of a fire emergency door with a sensor on the way out. So only big rigs, only a vehicle coming through that way can access it.
Okay.
I don't even know if that's a thing or, you know, we have very creative people.
We can certainly work with the applicant to figure something out like that.
Yeah, my concern is once cars have access to this, they're going to be easily go through and exit through the top, and then it's causing a bigger problem. So I really want to make sure that that is completely divided. They cannot access north at all. Fire engines can, of course. So maybe with a sensor or something where even a code for big rigs to, when they're coming out, to open that door.
Okay. Some sort of restriction.
Yeah, restrict it as much as possible because you know that was going to be. I knew you when you presented it. You knew I was going to.
We totally understood. Yes, we understand.
Huh?
Similar spot. Yeah.
That completely separating it. So you know, and I know like storage facilities have the little keypad things, maybe having a keypad that reaches all the way up to like the level of the big rig so they don't have to get out of their trucks again. And it's so tall that really, unless you're in a big rig, you really can't open it. Or having a secondary on the bottom, 2 keypads, something just to completely restrict those cars from
Okay.
traveling through that truck
Yes,
area.
duly noted.
Commissioner Shively?
Commissioner Jimenez, I don't know if you thought about perhaps moving those 7 units up north closer, so they technically don't pass the truck docks, and it's,
Well, thank you. That was something else because I want to make sure you know that section on top too is blocked off for
The
vehicles.
crash gates?
Yeah,
Yep,
up
so-
there too.
yes.
So, I mean, it could be possible where, I don't know how feasible it would be. I'm with you. Like, can we move these up to this north side and have like the truck access start here? But then they would still have to cross back to meet up with the trucks to exit. Yeah. I did. So just crash gates, something completely isolating
To
both.
further segregate the
Yeah.
employee in the truck aisle.
Yeah, and I
Yes.
did think about moving those up to the other side of the building. But then when cars are trying to leave, they would have to be fighting the trucks.
Correct.
And because the trucks are coming off the street, it's going to take them a little bit longer to pause. So I think that would be the best place for them.
Okay. Anyone else?
We
No,
try,
he
we
knows,
try.
he knows.
Just a really quick, I was going to ask the applicant, but I was just wondering if if they discussed having a break room inside the building? Because there's break area outside, but with the weather here, I just would feel terrible having the employees out there. 15-minute break,
I
30-minute
don't know
lunch,
if they're
whatnot.
planning on doing that, but
Okay.
maybe that's something that they could say that they'll look into, perhaps.
Yes, okay.
Anyone else have questions?
Yeah, I have a question. My question is in regards to the tree selection. So one of the, well, actually two of the trees that you guys had, they were labeled as 15-gallon versus 36-inch box. And I looked it up online. 15-gallon tubs are much smaller. They're much smaller. So I don't know if there's any way we could get those upsized, those 2 specific ones.
We can work with the applicant on the plant base.
Okay. Yeah, they were the Mondale pine and the fern pine, to be specific.
Anyone else for the staff? Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay. Now, if the applicant would like to make a presentation at this time, please come forward. And just please state your name and spell your last name for us.
Good evening. My name is Kathleen Ledbetter. Last name is Ledbetter. I am with ECM Management on behalf of Phelan Development. Thank you for hearing our project, Nansen Webster. We appreciate the attention from the commission, and I look forward to answering your questions. I also want to thank Alfredo Garcia for all his help in the Planning Commission and getting us here to Planning Commission tonight. And my final thanks before I proceed to the questions is for the wonderful support from our LIUNA representatives and our Carpenters Union force for being here today. We are extremely grateful that we have this support, and we are happy to acknowledge that about 70% of the construction costs for this project will be constructed by union labor trades. So we cannot build these buildings without these wonderful people. So thank you for your support. So I want to answer high level some questions first, if you'll have that. So Alfredo mentioned in the staff report, but I want to reiterate the right in, right out off of Nance through Webster. The first circle in red is for the auto parking, and we hear your concern about the spots on the south end, but we envision those for pure maintenance. And unfortunately, we couldn't fit those on the north side because of our 19% landscaping and the grades up there. So that was our solution, but we will have a completely secure gate with the blue arrow, or the blue circle you'll see in the northeast corner, and trucks will have a cohesive down the whole truck court, able to maneuver. We'll have another gate, and then you right off of Webster. So that was we were envisioning for truck traffic. Our goal was to have the auto and truck parking separate so that no pedestrians would be ever in the truck court, because we understand that safety concern. Luckily, we positioned the design of our building with the truck court facing east to line up with the truck court of the neighboring development, in effect creating a double screen wall for further security. We are also open to adding any extra gates and striping as needed. So thank you for that recommendation. Now I want to talk a little bit about Phelan Development and their dedication to not only functional, but beautiful and sustainable industrial product. As you can see by the elevations and the material boards provided, Phelan took great care in curating these materials to not only give you a beautiful industrial building, but to make it a place where businesses and employees will want to come to work. The varying colors, natural stone, and textures we feel really brings a great spark to the city of Paris, and it shows that Phelan, as a long-term investor and owner for this project, is really dedicated to the city of Paris. Our sustainable features, including the solar ready. Right now, we do not have a tenant lined up, so this is purely speculative construction. Once we get a tenant or a prospective lease ready, we will look into expanding upon that solar option with the tenant, because we'll build that into the lease. Similarly, the EV charging stations, we have 3 prepared, but we will just have the conduit stubbed up. It's a security issue until we have a tenant, because those machines tend to get stolen, and if we need more for the prospective tenant based on their operations, we can add more and build that into the lease. Some other sustainable, I'd like to emphasize the 19% landscaping. In the northeast corner, where our office build-out will be, we will have a wonderful break room. We know it gets really hot here, so we'll think about building a break room interior as well. But our outdoor feature has a shaded trellis. We are open to changing some trees to make sure it's extremely shaded, so it's a comfortable place for employees to spend their breaks. We also have a fun feature of a bocce ball court, because we know that everyone needs a break from work, and having that feature is something that we've put at other developments, and it's really been a perk for retaining employees. And your tenants can offer that as an amenity, because we know how important keeping workforce is and our leases. So I hope those highlights of this project show how dedicated Phelan as a developer is, not only creating a functional and aesthetically beautiful and a sustainable project. They normally, around this area, you see a lot of big box tenants, but this is more of a niche under about 109,000 square feet. So we really are honing in on and being selective about a tenant to bring economic development to the city of Paris and introduce more jobs to this market. So with that, I appreciate your attention, and I am open to answering any further questions.
Thank you very much. And at this time, do you have any questions for the applicant? Left, right, whoever wants to go.
I think you answered our questions. I appreciate the fact that you were paying attention and writing down notes and answered our questions as we went, so we don't have to go over it again. I think you really touched on every point, especially the ones that I was concerned about. You mentioned the break room, which is really great. I'm glad to hear that, because that kind of just went off in my head, especially coming here. It was so hot. But anyway, so thank you for your attention. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. Mr. Lopez?
Yes, real quickly, if you can elaborate on behalf of the solar, you said that you're going to include it in the lease. Does that mean it's guaranteed that the tenant is going to install the solar panels, or is it still optional?
Phelan, as the developer, will clearly want to have the tenant recommend it, and we will create the structural roof to bear the load for the solar, but it's going to be up to the tenant to install that as a further date. But yes, we will definitely try to make that recommendation, because it makes sense for the tenant to monitor their utility bills, and it would be a benefit to both parties.
Awesome. Thank you.
Mr. Jimenez or Shively, whoever.
So the solar-ready roof area is actually part of the green building code. So going above and beyond would actually be providing solar on the roof. Per the green building code, it's actually, I believe, only 10% of the roofing area has to be ready for solar. But like I said, going above and beyond would actually be providing the solar, solar panels. And one of the issues that have come up before with other projects, especially warehouse project, is the internal heat of a warehouse. That you can't really cool the space per se. You've got to kind of swamp cool it, or have low direct fans. The use of skylights, what particular skylights are you trying to use for this type of project?
I don't have the exact spec available, but we are open to working with building in our construction as the construction drawing progress, and having recommendations on what would be most makes sense from a maintenance standpoint and cooling for comfort.
So some skylights, the normal ones you would see in buildings nowadays with the 4x3 lights or 4x5 type skylights actually kind of create lighting or heat in the space. Perhaps it can be reviewed to use some type of solar tube or a similar product. Doesn't have to be specifically. I know there's others out there. Solar tube was kind of like the first ones out there to come up with the product that doesn't really cause or create heat inside the building. But I would hope that the product that could be investigated for this project. And then would you be up to perhaps providing one EV charging station as a part of the proposal, part of the contract of the tenant when they do get a tenant, so you don't have to worry about it being stolen?
Yes, I believe that could definitely be worked out.
Okay. That's all the questions I have.
Okay. Just a clarification from the COA. We're talking about a 14-foot wall on the north side and a wrought iron on the west side, which faces Webster.
Mm-hmm.
And on the east side, of course, that's facing Trucker. That's a wrought iron on the east side and a wall on the south side facing Markham. So I have that straight.
Correct,
14-foot wall on the south side.
correct.
Okay, very interesting. Okay. And lastly, the aisle width, which I didn't, forgive me if I'm not looking at the site plan, but the aisle width for there's 26 feet minimum. What is the aisle width for these trucks to go down south and around? Because it doesn't show here. So are we talking 36, 30 feet?
I can double check, but I believe it was 40,
40?
or 36 to 40. But I'll have to defer to my architect.
Because that makes a big difference. Okay. Yeah, okay.
Especially if they're coming down, making a right versus
Yes,
cars turning up.
yes, okay, okay. Yeah, I think that was primarily it for me. Everything else was asked, answered. And I think, having looked at that area, there's a dilapidated fence. I'm being very nice. To the north. Somehow we got chain link fence. I can't imagine who approved that. I wasn't here, so don't blame me. But wrought iron somebody had a chain link fence on a property like that in an industrial was really kind of strange. But that was my question, is the wall. And since the autos are on the north part, the wall will block that. The truck with the Amazon on the east, that's a whole other ballgame. So that's fine. So I was just clarifying that. That was it. Any more questions for
Commissioner Hammond, I have one additional question. Is storage of the actual trucks, is it intended to not have any storage on site, but it appears that it's perhaps that way, that only the trucks will be at docks that will be stored there?
The design was incorporated so that that would be an option for future tenants, but we can't say in the speculative design at this point.
Yeah, so
Without knowing the
there's
tenant.
really no place other than at the docks to store.
Correct.
And currently we have a huge dilemma of trucks parking trailers middle of nowhere because there's no places to park them. So that might be something that it would be something to investigate.
Noted, thank you.
more questions for the applicant? No. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And at this time, whether it be a Zoom or whether it be in the audience, is there any public comment on this agenda item?
Yes, sir. It looks like an Emily Mandrup.
Okay, go ahead.
She is a part of the panelist group. I don't know if she intends to speak here.
Hi, can you hear me okay?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, sorry, it says I can't start my video because the host stopped it, so I apologize, I'm not on screen. But again, thank you for your time tonight. I work with Kathleen. We've been working on the front lines with Alfredo and Kenneth, and so thank you again for your time. I just wanted to supplement some of the things that she said to add some clarity. So as you mentioned, the minimum requirement for solar is 10%. We are making the entire roof solar ready. We're adding an additional 3 to 5 pounds to accommodate that. And then in regards to your skylight question, we absolutely are looking at the solar tube. We like that brand too. It's low E. And our mechanical engineer makes sure to do all the calculations necessary to make sure that we have a good environment inside the warehouse. And then for the parking as well, a typical warehouse in this market, you would see about 1 door per 10,000 square feet. So 10 might be standard. Again, with a building this size and this kind of tenant, probably isn't even going to use that many doors. So there would be some extra room for them to have their trailers if needed. So just wanted to add those extra answers. But thank you again for your time.
Thank you very much. Yes, sir. And if you would just state your name, you don't need the address, and spell your last name for us. That's it.
Okay. Hello, Chair, my family, my fellow planning commissioners. My name is Tyler Dunford, D-U-N-F-O-R-D.
Thank you, sir.
And I live a couple miles west down the 74. To many, this project is not another warehouse. However, it's an opportunity to work close to home. This is an opportunity to spend quality time with my family. And also for our members, who were here earlier, a lot of them had to leave because they have to get up at 2 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning to drive to LA. And, or also some of them were working nights outside of this community. So bringing union jobs to Paris is very important. It brings the opportunity for pension, medical coverages, and good wages. If there were more responsible developers like this one building in our community, I'm sure the future would be very brighter. I am full of support for this project, and thank you for your time, and I look forward to the decision you have chosen to ensure we create community wealth.
Thank you very much, sir. And once again, if you would state your name and spell your last name for us, and that'll do. Okay.
Good evening. My name is Jose Radillo, R-A-D-I-L-L-O. Well, my name is Jose Radillo, and I am a LAUNA member. It stands for Laborers International Union of North America. And as such, I am here in support of the project. Passing the project will contribute to the growth of the local economy. I've been a laborer since 2002, and working with a developer that is willing to pay the prevailing wage and hire union laborers, craftsmen, and it will also enable us to obtain the hours that we need to submit to the benefit package every year that we need to receive for our health insurance benefits, pension plans. In addition, LAUNA has an accredited labor training school. It is located in the city of Azusa, and it is recognized by the Department of Labor. And this apprenticeship program will train us laborers, and so you can assure that this project will be done professionally. Let's see. Projects such as this, which support union jobs, are also supporting healthy family lifestyles and a positive future. I implore you to support our future and vote to support this project. Thank you for your time. All right.
Thank you very much, sir. And it just be consistent if you just state your name. Hey, I got to say it. State your name and spell your last name for us.
Well,
Yeah.
hello, fellow Chair and Planning Commissioners. My name is Omar Kobian.
Could you spell your last name?
Cobian.
Okay, thank you.
I am a local resident. I've been living in the area for a little over 30 years. I've seen Paris, Moreno Valley, Menifee start developing, and I know that this project in many residents' eyes says, wow, it's another warehouse. But this one's a little different than most. I mean, a couple points. It's in the right location. I've driven the area. I know the area. It's in the right location. I mean, short of having couches and abandoned cars there, this is going to beautify the area. You know, this is the type of project that's going to make that area look good. It fits in that location. That's point number one. The second point, I mean, I had a lot of talking points, but the truth is, I'm speaking on behalf of thousands of members that live in the area. I mean, Riverside County has over 5,000 members. I'm not only a member, but I'm a representative for the Carpenters Union. I know what goes on. This is one of very few developers that are responsible. I can't really say the same for the first two developers that were here, because there won't be any union labor there. And that's the sad fact of what goes on. Developers like this will do change careers. They create opportunities for apprentices, young students that come out of high school, avoid college debt, and have the opportunity to learn the trades. Because the truth of the matter is we all are fighting for, LAUNA and the Carpenters are fighting for the same pool of talent that's coming out of high school that don't know what they want to do. But what we do know, we don't want them to be in student debt, because you guys already know that path. You know, I have nephews that have hundreds of, over $100,000 of student debt and came out making $20 an hour. You know, these are people that we work hard for, but we want to avoid that. We want to give students a different path. And these are the type of projects that can create that future, not only for the carpenters, but overall for the laborers and the city of Paris. These developers like to hire local hire. They like to bring workers from the cities. So projects like these are very important for us. Another point, I personally am in full support of this project. I hope you guys are too. I hope you look past the fact that it is a tilt-up warehouse, because I know there's a big stigma on it. Tilt-ups are getting blamed for all the traffic. It's not necessarily truth. You look at how much housing is going on, and the fact that the roads weren't built for this much housing. Hopefully they will. And you know what? Thank you for your time. I look forward for your guys' decision, and I know that you guys will be in full support of bringing more community wealth to your city. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay. Was there anyone else? Okay. Okay. I know what you're going to say. Can't imagine, but if the applicant would like to comment, don't have to, but you're welcome to make any comments if you like. No, thank you. Okay. I got a city attorney looking at me. Okay. Okay, at the time we close the public comment and hearing portion. Come and bring it to the Planning Commission. Appreciate your patience too. I thank you for your patience. Bring it to the Planning Commission for discussion concerning this project, and anyone should welcome to start.
Discussion. Thank you so much for the comments that were provided, and yeah, I really appreciate hearing there's empowerment in allowing our community members to speak up for themselves. A lot of the times, a representative there's one person that can represent a group, a body of workers that are actually residents in the city of Paris. And I believe that having this opportunity to speak up and using it is the best tool to have, because it also provides each other with that brotherhood, so that you can continue and moving united. I was a union worker as of not too long ago, and I do appreciate union workers and what they stand for. So thank you so much, and thank you to Phelan for providing those local jobs for our residents, because money stays here in the community. And I really appreciate it. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Don't have to. Commissioner Jimenez?
So I'll start off with the 18% landscape that made my heart happy. The additions, I think all the little details of just balancing things out, incorporating those enhancing things, a really well thought out plan, beautiful layout. But more than anything, Mr. Kobe, and nice to see you in person. We've heard you several times on calls. And, it means a lot to have the union here, and not just having the union rep, but when we look out and we see so many orange vests, you are here, you're taking time out of your day, and, all of you spoke about the importance of being with your family, and you're giving up time with your families to be here, and it doesn't go unnoticed. So we appreciate it. We really want to keep work here. We want to develop our communities. We really appreciate you all being here. So everybody, huge hats off to every single one of you that was here. The people that were here and had to leave, we've been there where we have to get up at 2, 3 in the morning, work overnight. So, we represent those that can be here too when you show up. You're not just representing yourself, you're representing those that can't be here, would love to be here, but can't. So I appreciate all the detail to everything. Appreciate the support from the community. I really appreciate the support for local work, and really keep workers here local so that they can spend time with their family, live, enjoy living in Paris. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Shively?
So I think I think the architecture it suits the area of it as well. But I do would like to have have the applicant actually look at the solar panel or the skylights, solar-ready roof, and it's nice to see that they're planning on doing the whole roof. It's just a simple design calculation to do it. It's not. It's the loading of the panels itself that it can be done, and then also looking at the cool roofing as well. Perhaps keep the building a little bit cool on the interior as best as possible for the working staff inside. The fact that my only real concern is having trailer parking on site. It's the site design is limiting to how many trailers they can actually have, even though it's 1 per 10,000. We're looking at 11. Technically, a design would be 11 stalls or 11 docks, but potentially, if you don't have a space to put an empty trailer for future use, then it becomes parked out in the dirt next door. So, but the design it is what it is. It's not a very large. It's not the Amazon warehouse that's 1.3, 1.6 million square feet. So they're definitely having an issue with parking their trailers and finding storage for the trailers even on their own sites. So, but overall, I think it's a good fit for the site, and it works well.
Okay. And thank you. Not to prolong it because you've been here a long time. One thing I would say and this is the only thing I would say to the developer, if you're going to put solar roofing on, remember you have a March Air Force Base. And so reflectors was not something we mentioned. You got to deal with them. Because if it reflects up to any aircraft coming over, that's going to be on the city, not me. So you want to make sure if you have any solar in that area, you got to make sure you watch out because those planes, like these idiots that shoot green lights and red lights to planes, okay, should get 50 years in prison for that. But you got to be careful of that too. So make that as a consideration in that part of the town. So it's good to have them, but you don't want them reflecting that. And they will comment on that. Trust me, they will. The architecture is beautiful. I mean, we have pushed the standard beyond what was 20 years ago. Most of you were not here. So when I go through the battles and the fights, I went through all those fights. But the architecture is designed to where it's A1 now as opposed to Z1 back then. We don't just put up a building. This is a very tough commission, guys. I'm here to tell you. If you come before us, we're going to take on every rock, every crevice, every hole. We're going to go because we want the best product for our city. I've lived here 32 years, okay? So I'm not a novice here. I've lived here 32 years. I commuted to Los Angeles 5 hours a day, okay, at 3-something in the morning. So I'm an expert at commuting, okay? So nobody's going to tell me about commuting. You get up at 3 and work for 9 hours a day, not 8, okay? So I'm used to it. I know what it is to have to be local. I would love to have been local, but I just couldn't do it. That's why I quit early, because I got tired of being on the freeway. So I know what commuting is, and I know how important it is to get in the community and hire people in the community. And that's one of those things that some cities require, for projects, you want 36%, but you want people to live in the community because that's how you benefit the community. And that's how I pushed so much the previous project, because we want it to be a community thing and not just vote for whatever developer wants. Okay? So when we make it a community project and you work in the community, you can say you're proud of it because you built it. You look at your children, you say, we put this up. And that's what we do as a commission. There's only 10 people in the city to make a decision. We're 5 of them. So we got to answer for stuff. But if I'm going to answer for it, it's going to be what, and sometimes we get yelled at, screamed at, that's fine. But we're still going to do what's best for the community, just like you want to work and make the best building for your community, right? So we appreciate the patience tonight. We don't normally go this long, but it's been a month, so we're kind of play catch-up because we went away on a conference, so we're playing catch-up tonight. But we appreciate the staff. They're going to sleep now, so I got to wake them up. But we appreciate the staff, and we appreciate your contributions. So with that, just take that in consideration, and I think the building stands for itself. There's nothing to say. in this design. You answered all the questions this time because you knew we were going to ask them, right? Even the landscaping. Right? So thank you very much. And with that, I'm pretty much done. Okay. And at this point, if I get anything on screen, okay. Okay. I don't think we had any additions, did we? We did, okay.
Working with stuff, the gates and the trees.
Okay. The requested action is adopt resolution number 22-09, adopting mitigated negative declaration 2371, and approving developmental plan review 20-00017 to allow construction of a 109,229 square foot industrial based on the findings and subject conditions of approval with amendments being, we're going from, well, that's a staff thing, 15-gallon trees to 24? Oh, 36 gallon trees. Dividing the trucks from autos, and I think that was more of some kind of barrier, working with staff to put some kind of great engineer there too. Okay. Right. I think the South has access code for restrictions, but I think that's something to work with staff. What was the thing about solar?
He was talking about the skylights using.
The skylights, yeah. You're right. The proper. Yeah, I hadn't thought about that. Skylights, yeah. You can make it even hotter if you have a lot of skylights. Yeah. Okay, was there anything else?
Cool roofing, I believe.
Yeah, roofing.
Mr. Shively mentioned.
Right. TV station. EV station. Not just a facade station, an actual station. Okay, I think that's 5 things. Okay. Somebody got that? Because I doubt if I could repeat it. Okay. Okay.
There was only 2 accessible parking spots. Are we okay with that? Because they only need 2. Are we okay with that? Okay.
Okay. Anyone want to make a motion? Okay, Commissioner Gomez, thank you. And seconded by Commissioner Jimenez.
Commissioner Lopez,
Yes.
Commissioner Jimenez,
Yes.
Commissioner Gomez,
Yes.
Vice Chair Shively, Chair Hammond.
Yes.
The vote of 5 yes, this motion passes.
Thank you.
At this time, we have, I don't believe there's a business item, unless someone comes up. There is, we're not going to listen to it. Okay. We'll move to item 9, public comments. Anyone wishing to address the Planning Commission, either by Zoom or in person. Items not on the agenda, but may do so at this time. So you can walk up to the podium and wait for a chairperson to recognize you. 3 minutes, or by Zoom. So if either one, I don't know if IT is there anyone on Zoom for public comment?
No, sir.
Okay. And I'm looking at Ryan, he's going, hurry it up, right? Okay. Seeing that there's no public comments, we move on to item 10, commission members' announcements and reports. Promise to make this very, very short. Commission. So anyone would like any reports? We just came from a conference. Anything you'd like to say? Anyone concerned?
It's great to be back. I'd like to thank the City of Paris for allowing us or supporting us to go to, sponsoring us to go to the Academy, Commissioners Academy for the state or cities, City of League of Cities, California cities. It was a wonderful experience. I'd like to do it again. There's so much information. I believe there's a condensation of information that I need to break down so I could further understand it. But it was definitely a great experience. I'm glad I went. I did have surgery not too long before, but it was totally worth it. I mean, going and being there and spending time with the commissioners, just a great experience. So thank you for that. And we come back with all this energy and wanting to get things done and learn more. But I wanted to send a shout out to my mom, just because yesterday was her birthday. And my mother lives in Northern California, and she is, she's been a great inspiration to me. You know, she always takes the time to tell me that she's very proud of me, but she has no idea how proud I am of her and the role model that she's been to me. So I'm taking the opportunity today to say happy birthday, Mom, and may God give you so many more years. And yes, so I just wanted to say, give those words and thank you to the staff members and to the commissioners for being such a great a family here with the city of Paris. The votes don't always go the way we want them to go, but it's we speak for the community, right? And I think I'm never disappointed or shy or, you know, to say what I want to say. And everyone, I think, feels the same way. We want to speak, and we do it freely, and we don't hold back because we respect each other and we understand each other. And so I believe that that's so important to have in any work environment, even if it's twice a month or less sometimes. But we do look forward to so many events here in the city of Paris. Like there's like the color run that I'm so like, haven't signed up for it yet, but I'm very tempted to do that with my kids. And there's a health fair coming up as well. And I know there's other stuff coming up. I know that the fairgrounds is going to have this party. Just, you know, mind you, it's not the city of Paris, it's the state. And I just wanted to draw the line. It's the state property. That's the fairgrounds. That's not the city of Paris. But yes, I'm looking forward to the sun coming out and, you know, change in the weather. And I thank God that He has provided us a place of security and well-being. And as we remember that on the other side of the world, across the ocean, there are those who don't have a place to sleep, they don't have a place to be warm and to feel safe. And I speak of our, you know, our fellow humans in the Ukraine. So that's just something I wanted to point out, to be grateful every day that I wake up. And I thank God for the security and the love, and that He may continue to protect those as well. So thank you.
Thank you. Whoever, if you want to.
I also want to express that it's good to be back. I had a good little break of close to 2 months maybe. But I too went to the conference, the Planning Commission conference. I learned a lot. I was able to speak to a lot of commissioners across California, a lot of neighboring cities, and like I said, it was good experience learning from each other, seeing how different cities do their meetings, and getting examples of what type of projects they're doing, what type of designs they're pushing forward, and what we could expect for our city. Also, I did register for the 5K, the color run. That's it's gonna be April 23rd. So yeah, I did the LA Marathon too. But yeah, so that's gonna be a lot of fun. It's April 23rd. Pre-registration is only $7, so I do recommend. I do encourage a lot of people to do it, and I think it's for all ages too, so that you could take out the whole family. I've never done a color run, but it does look like a lot of fun. I saw videos online. Also, the heat is coming, you know, finally. So I do encourage a lot of people to drink a lot of water, stay hydrated. And finally, I just want to say thank you to staff. I know the meeting did go long, but I just thank you for all the hard work that you guys do. And yeah, I hope you guys have a good night.
And I also want to thank staff. The California Cities conference was amazing. It was very eye-opening. It gave us an opportunity to like really reflect and think about what we do and why we do it. I know that we do it every 2 weeks, and when we sign up, we are, you know, really excited to do it. But sometimes, you know, like meetings tonight go long, but they're engaging, and it's things that we have to do because we care about our city. And I do want to give a huge shout out to Chair Hammond, because we're sitting at the trainings. And I'm looking to him, I'm like, is that true? Is that true? And he was like an expert. So I really, and I pitched it to him, and I'm going to put you on blast. I think whenever we have a new commissioner or there's a new opening, having some kind of training before, like official training about zoning, about, voting even, like I didn't know when to motion, when not to motion. It's like those little basic things that we don't know. So, I'm going to put him on the spot, and he should do the trainings and really lay out expectations, because when we're put on the spot, we're on Facebook Live, we're televised, we're recorded. Like, it's kind of intimidating once you get here and you're like, well, I don't know if I'm doing this correctly. We're in the history books. So, and also, so I really want, to ask our cities to continue to put that in the budget and look for other opportunities for us to really develop. I feel like this commission is really, really committed. I'm sure the ones before us have been as well, but I really wanted to continue our professional development in our roles and really be able to be better prepared, or as prepared as we can be, to better serve our communities. KFC opened. Haven't been there yet. I'm always one of the last. Like, I'm super excited, and I'm always one of the last to go. And we have the breakfast with the Easter Bunny on Saturday. We have the movie night on Friday nights. Super cool community events that we really want to bring people out and get to know each other and really build that sense of community and belonging and being a part of us. I did want to ask our staff a question. When I drive to the city, we see things, and there are certain colors that have popped up, and I'm not going to call anybody out. There are certain colors where you're driving and you're like, wow, that's a color. Somebody made some choices on a building, and it wasn't those colors before. So you're driving, you're like, whoa, colors. Very, very, very interesting colors. So is there a way that we can work into conditions of approval or something whenever a building is approved, whenever they want to repaint, there's a color scheme or something, so you're not driving and all of a sudden you're like blinded? I don't know if that's something that we can. I mean, they're not bad colors. It's just colors. Yes. I wasn't going to call anybody out. So, okay. So, I don't know if that's something we can do. There have been buildings where we approve a certain color, and I'm just thinking long term. We approve a color 10 years from now, 15 years from now, the colors have faded, they're ugly. I mean, they can go paint like a burnt or orange every building on here. So I just want to see if that's something we can talk about. Thank you.
Well, I thoroughly enjoyed the City League of Cities that we did. It was great for us as not as individuals, but as a commission to actually experience each other's events, and we actually had a great dinner and discussed a lot of interesting topics that is not breaking the Brown Act for you. But just getting to know each other a little bit more, and we gel up here on the dais pretty well. But just understanding where each of us come from was great experience for me. So I definitely would like to go to more of those. That was my first. I've been up here, I think, 10, 11 years. But that was my first experience representing the city of Paris at an event like that. Definitely like to do that more often as we move forward. And then I was wondering if haven't seen anything, if there's any events in the city of Paris for Earth Day, which I believe is April 22nd or something like that. And that's all I have.
Yes, thank you. I promise I'll keep it less than 2 hours. No, I'm just kidding. Two things. One, I handed out, not going over tonight.
Put them on the clock.
This is Welcome to Bishop Ranch. This is what was handed out. He stepped away, but we went on a walking tour. This is the Harvard of development. We've seen some developments at a junior high. This is Harvard. This is Yale, Oxford combined. You're not going to get any better than this, I'm telling you now. And we walked in San Ramon, and we walked across the street from the Marriott, and this is where you see the Bishop Center, which is like a steel mall, a special designer. He's more of an architecture you know about. But this is what I was talking about, mixed use. This is what you look at when you talk mixed use. It's a very high expensive community, but you're not going to beat this. Sorry, guys, not in the West Coast. And one of the things about it, too, that they combine residential, they combine commercial, they combine retail, offices where you can walk to the lake, and when you're working, you walk around the lake and get exercise. That's why you do mixed use. Okay? So you've got a community that's combined, and each one of them feeds off. That's why I talk about mixed use. So read that up in your own. You can go to Mississippi Avenue. I even talked to their planning. I watched their planning commission on TV. These guys are dull. Okay, but I watched. They're not as exciting as us. Nobody's like us. But he's a nice guy. I walked around with him, and they're still on Zoom, and we're live. So I'm going, okay. But they've got, all they have to do is point to the AT&T building. It's a 1,800,000 square foot, 1,000 office building. There's no place like that. I mean, that's like Google level. So anyway, something to look at. Request for staff. Planning Commissioner's Handbook comes from League of California Cities. Can you buy them immediately? That's a standard thing I got. You should be handing it to them. Every new commissioner should have the planning. It comes from League of California Cities. And it's a handbook on, it's not legal stuff, but it's a handbook how to operate, and it's something that you can hand on, pass on. Next person comes in, you have to go about 6 hours of training. Give them the handbook from the League of California Cities. It's specifically for planning commissioners. And it's something we should probably get pretty soon. Okay, so that's one of my things. Lastly, if we could have, it would be nice to have a session with Michelle Ogawa to come in and talk about economic development, because it's kind of tying in with what I was just talking about earlier in the previous one. The mixed-use type of mindset, what's going to be going on in the city, how does that tie into planning? And so they can kind of give us an update on what they're talking about doing, hotels, gyms, restaurants, and how we're doing it, and see how they jive. And knowing her well enough, she'd probably be willing to do it, but it has to go through you. Okay, so we're not going to beat her up. We didn't beat up code enforcement. We didn't beat up public works. So we're not going to beat her up either. So my main thing is the handbook, and Commissioner's Handbook, the League of California Cities. I'm not sure they'll ever invite me back, because I went up to the mic twice, and it probably will not let me come back, because I really went after them. We have the best city attorney group here. I'm a little surprised at theirs. We have an excellent one who would never let the stuff go by that they were talking about going by. So we've got an excellent staff. You only appreciate that when you get away and you listen to some of the other ones. And you say, it's kind of fringing, you know. But anyway, thank you, staff, for being so. I know you got to go to bed, and I appreciate it. This is an extra long meeting, but it was a topic that's very important. And lastly, because this city, we're starting to lose these kind of areas in the future, you know, we want to start having maybe some workshops talking about looking at the general plan, looking at what was approved back in 2005, 6, 7, and where we're at now with that. Because we've added a lot of things. We've had not more housing. We have 80,000 people now. We only had, at that time, maybe 30-something. And so you have the rooftops now, so the excuses for not coming now are not there. That's why you see the Chick-fil-A's. That's why you see the Harbor Freights. They know there's people there, so I'm not buying this, nobody will come stuff. You just have to make amendments. You just have to make something in the city of Paris to get it here. Lastly, industrial plants. They're screaming at us about industrial. So that's not industrial. We're losing our areas, that part of town or any other part of town where we can get mixed-use plan development overlays. We're going to have to do it, because it's election year, too, for council. But you want to start doing things that the community can be a part of and not just industrial. Okay? So that's it for me. I appreciate it. I know there's something going on at the Southern California Railroad. They've been advertising on TV about barbecue, brew, and something else. And it's advertised nationally, the Southern California Railroad, this Saturday. So we're getting the name recognition. We just need, we just need to get up to speed, and, the Southern California Fairgrounds, we need some help. But anyway, thank you guys, appreciate it. And I leave it with Kenneth.
Thank you, Chairman Hammond, members of the Planning Commission. As you mentioned, for this coming Saturday, there's breakfast with Bunny and the community egg hunt. So it's just a way to get connected with the community. And then I know that Commissioner Lopez mentioned about the 5-color run, but for that day, there's also the health fair. So we just put that in our calendar for April 23rd. As for the KFC, I have an opportunity to go to the KFC. So it was, I think I waited for about 2 weeks before I came in there, just because the line was quite long. The first week it was open. And the deal at KFC was a little better than Popeye, so take advantage before they raise the price. So I just wanted to note that for you. In regards to upcoming Planning Commission meeting, we do have one in 2 weeks. And then we'll have another meeting. I know that we missed one meeting and it felt pretty long. It felt like almost 2 months, but it was only like 30 days, but it did feel much longer than that. But we will have the next 2 meetings. I see it on the calendar. I actually see much more on the calendar foreseeably, but there's a possibility. We did submit for the planning award. I don't know if there's a chance we get it, then that we might want to figure out we can shift the planning commission meeting, I think, on May 4th. If we get nominated and we have a chance to win, I would think we would like to, for all of us to attend. We submitted an application for the Green Valley specific plan when we updated that document. So we submitted for that, and hopefully we have a chance at getting an award and being recognized for the hard work that you guys put together to make that happen. But that's what's going on right now. I just want to give you an update. We're very busy, a lot of developments going on, and so we'll have a nice evening and we'll regroup, and in 2 weeks we'll be back here again.
Thank you very much. Thank you to our city attorney, city engineer. He didn't say much, so he must have been going easy tonight. Letting us off the hook since it's been a month. That's what it is. Yeah. Thank you, Ryan, for staying awake the whole time. And IT people. I know they got it tough back there. Interpreter, yeah. I'm glad the city got caught on with that, too. Yeah. Okay. And with that, Ryan, I guess we can say movement for adjournment. I can't imagine anybody saying no. So, as I always say, just pick a name. Okay. You guys.